Hello friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my very detailed report for February 2026 astrology, where we blast into the new month with a brilliant, very dramatic full moon in Leo, the first time in 13 moons. We also have a solar eclipse at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius, the first time we have an Aquarius-Leo eclipse cycle since 2017 to 2019. We have a crazy Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. This is such a pivotal degree. And while Saturn and Neptune come together every 35 to 36 years, the last time they came together in Aries was around 500 to 600 years ago. And the last time they came together at 0 degrees of Aries, which is the first degree of the zodiac, which is the point of individuation that we leap from the cosmic soup into form, is going to be over 5,000 years. It's not even documentable because we don't have an ephemeris that reliably goes back before then. We only can go back 5,000 years and it hasn't happened in that time. So this is a very, very big deal. We've got Mercury retrograde at 22 degrees of Pisces. The last time that this has happened was 6 or 7 years ago. So we are going to cover these very important points plus a lot more to let you know what you need to know about February that makes it so powerful, even humanity changing. And not only will I give you the overview here, which is what we're starting with, that will be true for all signs, I'm going to timestamp out how we apply all of this to the individual sign. But don't jump there yet, because the background that I'm going to give you now will be the structure on which we build higher when we go into the more detailed report specific for the signs. In another browser, go to anniehelpsyou.com/astrology. This is going to be a hub for all of my new videos and my podcasts. So you can find everything there in one place. That's also my site where you can find everything else that I offer, and you can grab your free sweet and salty written report with all of the details of all of the aspects in the month that you need to know about. For those of you who don't know me already, hello, I'm Annie Botticelli. I've been an astrologer for around 23 years and been teaching for almost all of that time, and I'm very excited to share my experience with you to help you make this the best month possible. YouTube viewers, the timestamps will be in the notes underneath the video. They will also be in a pinned post directly underneath the video. So if you have trouble accessing the notes, then you can just find that top post. Podcast listeners, I don't think the timestamp listing syncs over to Spotify, although I have heard that it is starting to lock those in. But if it's not there, you can look up Annie Botticelli Buzzsprout, and on my Buzzsprout Astro Kisses site, you will find all the notes underneath the video with the timestamps. All right, so let's just launch into February. First thing to know about this month is that we've got a massive amount of Aquarius energy. We've got Pluto there long term. For shorter time, Estrella, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, all in Aquarius. And we also have that solar eclipse on February 17th, which we will be feeling even in January, all through February and into March. The electrifying nature of that eclipse is going to be felt. Plus, we have all of this other energy. And the reason why I use the word electric to be associated with Aquarius is because Aquarius rules electricity. Uranus, the planet that rules Aquarius, rules electricity. And you're going to feel this lightning strike energy, sudden things coming through for better and worse, hyper mental electricity, this pull towards liberation from old identities or things that you identified with, detachment from drama, which you may need a little bit extra of when we start the month out. We'll get there soon with that full moon. Craving the freedom and the innovation and the radical authenticity and the social connections and the groups and feeling like you're part of a team or part of a greater purpose. This is an energy that can be bird's eye view, solving problems creatively. And this can be very much related to the future and electronic things or things having to do with technology. So you'll be feeling that this month. It's very inventive. If you've ever been around an Aquarius, if you are one and you know this, or if you've been around them, they do things in a different way. They think in a different way. And, you know, for instance, kids, an Aquarius child that I spend a lot of time with, can you get the kid to walk straight in a line? No. Can you get the kid to not crab walk or walk weirdly or eat right, or just, they don't do it. They don't do it that way. Whatever is going to be weird, it's really going to be what's going on. And this month is very much about that. It's weird, it's wacky, it's wild, it's wonderful, it's different, it's eccentric, it's unusual. And that is encompassing the whole month. So everything that we talk about is going to be under this umbrella of this massive, Aquarian umbrella. So let's talk about these things in order. I'm going to give you these important dates. And again, when we do get up to the timestamps for each sign, I will, we're covering these dates, but if you want my full list of sweet and salty dates, you can grab your sweet and salty report at anniehelpsyou.com so that you can get a written overview of the month and all of the dates that can be difficult and all the dates that can be awesome. We know it's very strange this month. We've got very few aspects this month, only about 13 of the planets that I'm looking at. And that's really one of the lowest that I've ever seen, because usually we have in the 20s or 18 or 29 different aspects. But this is kind of just interesting in that way. But the ones we do have are ones that have major power. All right, so let's start out with this full moon. Now, I am going to do a separate video on this full moon, and I will have it out a few days before that, and also a syndicated podcast, but we're definitely going to cover it here. What happens at a full moon? Fullness, completion, fruition, drama, things getting elucidated, things coming out from inside, or being shown, or being seen, or being realized, or being discovered, or being brought out into full visibility and awareness. So we have that happening with the energy of Leo. Expect drama in romance. Leo rules true love. Expect drama with children, or the drama could be something good. Maybe you get good news about a milestone of something for a child, or maybe you find out about a pregnancy, or maybe there's something that has to be tended with if one of your kids is acting up. So for better or worse, there's this energy of creative forces. And if you have creative babies that aren't human, those creative babies can be front and center at this time. So look out for this fullness, completion, fruition, drama, elucidation to come in the world of Leo. And this can be very, 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 very dramatic. Okay, so we're starting the month out with this tone, self-expression, spotlight on your gifts that make you feel like you're lifting all of your cells up to the sky like a sunflower. That's the energy that we're starting with. And when we go into the timestamps, I'll talk about where that is for each sign. February 17th, we've got the solar eclipse at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius. The last time we had these eclipses happen were between 2017 and 2019. Before that, early 2008 to the end of 2009. So we're entering a new eclipse cycle that will go from now here in the beginning of 2026 until 2028. So we're starting a new cycle. And yes, we still do have the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle going concurrently. We will talk about that more next month, because you will be feeling all of that now, because eclipse season starts 4 to 6 weeks before the actual eclipse and can be very strong 4 to 6 weeks after the eclipse. And sometimes we even see news 8 weeks before, which puts us in January. Wow, stuff started coming in. February, heat of eclipse season. March, heat of eclipse season. So what we're looking at here from the perspective of the eclipse, something interesting about this eclipse is that it's a solar eclipse, so it opens new windows. It's at the beginning of a multiple year cycle that we are going to see Leo Aquarius polarities coming up very strongly, which has to do with your creativity versus the group, your personal expression versus the greater good. And you will see these themes coming up. But what's interesting about this is that the eclipse is at almost 29 degrees. This is a culmination type of energy. This is the most potent energetic of all of the 30 degrees of a sign. And so it's starting here at this fated degree, which is signaling culmination and urgency and completion. and a turning point that can't be postponed. So as we're starting out this new cycle, there is something about completion with it that is also coming. So look out for breakthroughs and turning points and timeline shifts, sudden clarity. I've talked before about how time and space bend around objects of greater mass in greater ways. So the bigger the objects of mass, the more time and space bend around those objects. And this is, was shown to be, it was hypothesized by Albert Einstein, and then later proven. So the things that he figured out from this, there were many, many implications, but time passes more slowly in stronger gravitational fields. So when the sun, the moon, and the earth align, they create a stronger gravitational field. And time actually changes during these alignments. So when I talk about these things, it's not just a metaphysical, spiritual situation. It's actually an astronomical, scientific phenomenon that time and space bend and time changes. And we see this as portals opening and timelines shifting, where we thought something may be happening in a long time in the future. It happens now. Or something we've been working on can come through suddenly. So, you will be feeling this month is very, very big with time feels weird, deja vu, synchronicities, glasses breaking. If you have a glass break this month, as long as everybody's okay, count it as a blessing, because it's taking the tension out of the field that comes from these energetic alignments that build up in our electromagnetic fields as humans, which we do have. That is not in question. So, yeah, big, big, big things. And when we go to the time-stamped part, I will tell you what implications you can see for each sign from this. Now let's talk about this big boom. I'm actually going to do a very big, a detailed separate report on this that I'll post closer to February 20th for this conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries as it relates to the magnitude of it and the global possibilities. But in this report, I will talk about the kinds of things you may see for each of you and where this is going to be for each placement. Okay, so one of the most important things about this connection is the 0 degrees of Aries. In the zodiac wheel, we start with 0 degrees of Aries. That's the beginning of everything. And then we go around Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. And then there are 30 degrees in each sign that run from 0 degrees to 29 degrees. And after 29 degrees, it turns over to the next sign. So at 29 degrees of Pisces in the zodiac wheel, that is the point. The Pisces energy is this cosmic consciousness. It's the connectivity web, the collective soup, the cosmic soup, that all things exist. And the individuation point where we pop out, you want to say slide down the Uberlube highway in Seuss terms, but we slide down into form, into our individual personality, into our individual experience. And that 0 degree point at Aries is that critical point. So this is like a collective reset point, unlike any other, and it really can be humanity changing. And so for each individual, we're going to have our personal implications, which I'll go over in the timestamps, but it's important to understand that. New systems, new patterns, new identities, new realities, new understandings are going to just blast into existence from this birth point. Aries is a cardinal sign. It goes in a finite direction, and that is forward. So it just goes out. And this is what's going to be happening. So this transit is blurring those boundaries between the tangible and the mystical, making the invisible suddenly concrete and the impossible suddenly viable. It's a very, very, very magical point. Okay, so then on February 12th, we end our nice open window that we had from December 17th through February 12th, which is when the tides, I always call them the astrological tides, based on the personal planet retrogrades and directs. Okay, so when Mercury, Venus, or Mars are not going retrograde and there is not a shadow period, then I call that the open periods. Okay, so the open periods are the times when, if you are on the shore and you are putting your boats afloat, the tides will be going out. So So if you have big things that you need to do to bring out into the world, big decisions, big sales, big purchases, big, events, big commitments, contracts, paperwork, all of these things where you need to have oomph with the tides going out, the tides start to turn around February 12th. And then we go into a long retrograde cycle. And so from February 12th until February 25th, we've got the pre-retrograde transit with every day from the 12th to the 25th going deeper into this inward and backward focus where we become the earthworm and we go back over and over old things, where we stop trying to plan ahead in the future and we get really focused on the squeaky wheel in front of us. Okay, so this month is a hybrid month where part of the month is that blazing saddles, go forward, do everything you can, be the spider, make new spider webs, get everything going for yourself. And then as the month progresses, we sort of sit back, we wait in our web, and we let food come to us, all right, or things come to us. As the month progresses, it's not a time to push. It's not a time to force. It's not a time to try to make something happen. But the earlier part of the month until the 12th, you do have a lot of good energy where, you can really be assertive and be really goal-driven and future-driven and, plans-driven. And then as the month progresses, you'll notice that plans fall into uncertainty. Things that looked set seem to be not stable or not sure. And so the best you can do is leave yourself as unscheduled as possible. Expect that plans are going to change. Expect that people aren't going to show up. Expect that you're going to not always be able to follow through with what you committed to. Do things in pencil instead of pen, and wait for the last minute magic that is very likely to come, as those retrogrades tend to bring that. Okay, so now I'm going to end this intro, and you can go to your sign-specific timestamps. I always suggest that if you know your chart beyond your sun sign, to watch for your sun sign and your rising sign at least. Your rising sign is what will match more closely with your natal and transit chart. If you look at your chart, your rising will match more closely with that. But the solar chart is still a layer of your astrological picture. It just is not one that matches your natal to transit chart, because that is going to be matched by the rising. But if you know it, and some people even watch for their moon, if that gets too overwhelming, then my top two suggestions are watch for your sun and watch for your rising. If you don't know your rising, you can search for how to run a free birth chart online. You'll need your date of birth, your time of birth, your location of birth, and then you can get your rising sign and you can get that next layer of information. Quick admin note before we jump to the timestamps. If you want to see my take on what the outer planets are doing for you in 2026 and beyond, go to anniebclarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, and check out my astrology certification course. Okay, let's go into the individual signs now. Aries. Okay, Aries friends, this is your Aries February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. If you didn't already listen to the intro, I suggest you go back and do that to lay the groundwork of the main aspects this month, and then I will apply all of those things we spoke about to Aries specifically. First thing to note, everything with Aries is going to be intensified double. We experience everything double. All of these Aquarius placements, Pluto long-term, Astrea, Mars, Vesta, Sun, Venus, Mercury, all of those planets in Aquarius are also in Aries, sign of Aquarius. So everything is doubled up. So this, coupled with the solar eclipse on February 17th at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius, which is in a favorable angle for the Aries placements, is a major activator. We started this new cycle here in 2026. It will go into 2028. The last time the Aquarius Leo eclipse cycle happened was 2017 to 2019, and prior to that, early 2008 to the end of 2009. So you can think back to the things I'm about to talk about and what you may see of how those things changed. Expect major changes in your community, major networking and friendship and collaborations and your future vision. this is marking this multi-year storyline. I mean, we've got, in the short term, we've got all of this active energy, but the eclipse being there takes the short-term energy and brings it to the long term of multi-year, where your alliances are shifting. Your friendships take on more significance. You are assessing and trimming out groups and friendships that are not serving your best interest, that you are not moving towards, you're moving away from, and you're doubling down on the places where you have the most resonance. It really is very much about resonance. So this has to do with a radical reorientation of the vision that you have for yourself and as you are part of a group. This is also internet. If you're not online yet, you've got an amazing time before February 12th where the stars are really, really good for new ventures. If you've been waiting to launch something or bring something out, online content, social media, you've got, or anything important, patents, anything like that, you have this really good energy. And then as the month progresses, we start going more into editing and, polishing up old stuff to be ready for the next launch period and that kind of thing. But this is a time of saying hello to new groups and new audiences and new technologies and getting up to date on the way that technological advancements can help you. Now, what you may also see is the opposite. You may notice that you are detaching from social media, that you are renegotiating your relationship with devices, that you are taking more device breaks, that you are focusing on human-made things over AI things, and, joining that movement to preserve human creativity, while at the same time AI is having its purpose. You're renegotiating your relationship with those things. You also may see sudden changes in friendships or community circles, a new mission calling you forward very clearly, and usually one that will have a group support mechanism involved with it. And your social world is basically resetting. So that's going to be very, very evident all month. As the month progresses, we will have more and more planets moving into Pisces, and we will talk more about this Pisces energy for you when we get up to the Mercury retrograde part of our discussion, because Mercury will also be going retrograde in that area. But starting right at the beginning of the month, this Aquarius energy is strong. And also starting at the beginning of the month, we have that full moon at 13 degrees of Leo. Now, this is a fellow fire sign. This is one of the best possible moons for Aries from the elemental perspective, but this moon carries a massive amount of mischief. I'm going to go into that mischief in the separate video, which actually will be posted about a week or so after these February reports. But to give you a little bit of information about that now, there are a lot of stressors on this moon, a lot of polarized energy, because the moon is making an opposition with the conjunction between the sun and Venus and Mars. Oh, and Vesta is there as well. So this is, it's a pretty powerful feeling of being pulled in multiple directions. But the fullness, the completion, the fruition, something you've been crafting or nurturing can reach this visible, height. This is a time for breakthroughs around a creative dream. Maybe you're launching your creative dream. If you're looking for love, new people for the first part of the month through around February 12th have extra special promise. People who you have already known or dated or seen on a profile, or that a friend wanted to introduce you to, as the month progresses, that will become better for going back to other people who have been in your life before, or that you want to, maybe you had a friend, now you're going on a date with them, where you're basically reevaluating the nature of the relationship. And for those of you who are in relationship already, you may find that this is a time where old challenges in love may come up, but also old little things that you did that were really, really fulfilling. Maybe you and your partner used to go and walk on the beach as a habit, and then you drifted away from it, or maybe whatever it is, little rituals that were really affirming to the relationship may return. And of course, someone from your past may return for those of you who that's relevant for. So this is, a really powerful energy. Now, all of the Aries can feel this and have possibilities from it, but those of you who are in the middle, So that's going to be like the first week of April, and the closer to around the 3rd or so of April, you may get an exact, or 13 degrees if you have, we'll say 8 degrees through 18 degrees if you are looking, if you know your degrees. And the closer to 13 degrees, or the closer to around April 3rd, the more you may get extra special, noticeable outcomes from this moon. Now with the eclipse energy, since that's at the very end, those of you who are almost to the Taurus spectrum, so like April 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, all around there, you all may get an extra special noticeable boost from that eclipse energy in that late degree. Okay, so the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is significant for all of humanity. And it really is a crazy type of reset, one that we really just don't even understand what the implications could possibly be, because it's just a whole new beginning. This is the point of the newest beginnings. And Saturn is about form, and Neptune is about formlessness, and Saturn is about structure, and Neptune is about no structure and disorganization and chaos and everything mixed together. And Saturn is about something specific, goal, material, accomplishments, and Neptune is about accomplishments of the spirit and the soul. So when they come together, there's like this clashing of worlds, but it's all happening with a new beginning of them all enmeshed, where spirituality can meet the daily discipline, where the structures that we have in place that are the scaffolding for our society and our lives can be enhanced with spirituality beyond anything we've understood. This, is a very deeply spiritual but profoundly material connection, and it's happening in Aries. So all of you, everyone in the zodiac, this can be life-changing for, and humanity as a whole. But this is definitely one of the most defining transits of your lifetime, because it's landing in your identity house, like what you bring out into the world. Your structure meets your spirit. Your discipline meets your dreams. This is one of the best times possible to commit to becoming who you really are and finding out what that is, and surrounding yourself by these Aquarian energies, these groups of people where you can really be yourself and where you're really understood. You may definitely see a profound shift in your sense of self, what that means. You can see, on one hand, a firming up of your definition of who you are and what you're bringing. And Neptune can also bring the you as a spiritual being, and understanding yourself as a spiritual being, having a human experience. Definitely dissolving ego patterns that no longer fit. Definitely feeling this maybe very rambunctious calling towards spirit. Synchronicity is going to be very, very, very strong. And the power of this, echoes out for a really, really, really long time. Now, if you are in the very early degree period, so birthdays like March 20th, March 21st, March 22nd, March, like right in the beginning, this is going to hit exactly on your placement. So expect something especially profound if you are in that zone. Okay, so now let's talk about the movement of these placements in Aquarius into Pisces, and the Pisces retrograde, Mercury retrograde, because Mercury will move from Aquarius into Pisces, join Pallas Athena, join transiting North Node. Saturn, as we know, is going to shift out of Pisces into Aries to stay, because it has done its dip back and forth, and now it is moving into Aries to stay. So all of this Pisces energy, Neptune rules Pisces, so it's accentuated more from that, rules your deep unconscious mind, your dream life, your intuition, your hidden emotional layers. So you may find yourself wanting to balance out this social scene that is very active with more rest, with journaling, with healing wounds, with letting intuition take the wheel. You may have strange dreams. You may have insomnia. You may have, and really the eclipses can do that too. You may have heightened sense of spiritual awareness. You may have deep emotional processing, or a draw to work with somebody to do inner work. Some of my favorite inner work, you can look up these abbreviations: NLP, it's neuro-linguistic processing; EMDR, it's a trauma clearing therapy that has been especially helpful, very scientifically documented to be helpful with post-traumatic stress disorder in war veterans. And so it's become very available, at least in the United States, on insurance, because, it's not just war veterans that have trauma. So if you have trauma, this could be a time where you can find someone a qualified person to help you with this. EFT. Sometimes people can benefit from past life regression. And I will also note that even if you don't believe in your individual past lives, your genetic ancestral data can come through in past life energy as well. And so you may find a major healing block become resolved by looking into things like hypnosis and past life regression. So this is a time to tend to your inner world at the same time as you're giving equal focus on your outer world. And the balance of those two are really what the story of Saturn and Neptune is all about. This Pisces period is a quiet reset before the planets start to move into Aries, where your very major rebirth will be occurring. So now we're going to be having Eris, Chiron, Neptune, Saturn as long-term transits in Aries. And this is, very significant because no matter what degree you're at in the Aries spectrum, you're getting effects from, or have recently gone through effects from, one or more of these placements. Not really Aries, because it's very, very slow moving and it's just kind of stuck in this area. But, there's a lot of long-term stories going on. Saturn is going to help you find the discipline to be in your best physical shape and have your best vibrant health. Neptune is going to help you dissolve out addictions and use the power of structure of Saturn to do that. And it's going to help you to be at your most physically vital. And these are all long-term themes that are going to be happening. Okay, well, that's the basic overview of the crazy month of February. If you enjoy my work, thank you for liking, subscribing, enabling notifications so you don't miss anything from me. You can also bookmark anniehelpsyou.com/astrology and find my podcasts and my YouTube videos there. You can search for Annie Botticelli Buzzsprout Astro Kisses and find my site for my podcast that will have the timestamps there. I am posting almost weekly now, and I am putting all of the videos for right now for the horoscopes for each individual sign in this one mega video. But because I'm doing that, it's leaving me open to do more content. So look out for that. If you don't want to miss anything from me, grab your sweet and salty date report at anniehelpsyou.com, and that will also give you my 2 newsletters a month. I'm down to only 2, so you're not going to get spammed. So you could check all that out. If you want to see reports from me for this year and beyond, go to Annie B. Clarity, Clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology with me, you can take my astrology certification course at beastropro.com, beastropro.com. Okay, I'll see you in the next report. Bye. Hello, Taurus friends. This is your Taurus February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. And this is for you if Taurus is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Taurus placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Taurus friends, so birthdays like May 15th through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Gemini report, which follows this one, so it's super easy. You can listen in a row, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, so if you didn't already listen to the intro, you may want to go back and do that because it does lay some groundwork, but this reading can stand as a standalone reading as well for Taurus. Okay, so these are the points we're going to hit, and we're going to go in order. Let's start out with that brilliant, fiery full moon at 13 degrees of Leo right at the beginning of the month, February 1st, and talk about where that hits for Taurus and what you can expect and what you can do with it. I'm going to give you key words so that you hold these in your consciousness throughout this time. Okay, so you might start feeling this towards the end of January, definitely, for the first several days of February. That moon's going to be in Leo, and for Taurus, that's going to be in your 4th house of home, family, ancestry, home, family, roots, emotional safety, private life, your inner world, your property, your land, your parents, you as a parent, your inner child. We've got a square here with some tension, friction, a push to change. You may have the feeling, I can't keep living like this, or I'm restless and ready to expand or ready to move on. Until, as I talked about in the intro, until the 12th of February, we've got these great open stars that are amazing for your new beginnings in your home world, or setting something like that into motion. So you can use this moon to facilitate that process. Some things that you may see from this: home or living situation climax, news about a move or a renovation or a landlord or a roommate or a family member may reach a peak. Something becomes elucidated. This is a full moon. There could be a family drama or a breakthrough, or both. So a relative situation can come to a head. A pattern within the family, can get loud at this time. Because this relates to your inner world, you can hit that emotional boiling point. So something you've tolerated at home or in your private life can just become where it's time to push for change. And remember that square energy is this push for change. And sometimes you need to be sufficiently fired up to take the necessary steps for making these changes. Amazing for putting your house up for sale, for purchasing new homes, for investing in real estate. Alternatively, you may see issues with the land or the buildings you already have. Boundary things, things having to do with just the land itself or the boundary around the land. You can use this energy to tune in to ask yourself what home means for you and how you can, solidify that. It also is a really great opportunity to use the emotional intensity to set these non-negotiables, really find out where your boundaries lie and what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept in your living environment and in your family dynamics. Some things to watch out for. Sometimes if you know beforehand, it's a little bit easier to manage the things to watch out for, which is why I give you this astrological weather forecast, because, it can sometimes ring in your head as something's going on and you may be able to make things a little smoother. So look out for overreacting from yourself or other people. There could be triggered inner children all over the place. And there, could be this energy of ultimatum around, because Leo is a no-nonsense type of energy. It's very fiery. It's very much about leadership. It's very fixed. Taurus is also fixed energy. So, there's something having to do with power struggle could come up with parents or a landlord or mortgage company, where there could be an overreaction from pride. There could be impulsive moves, lease breaks, decisions that are made from emotional overload that may or may not be the best way to use the energy. As I was saying, you might need the pressure cooker situation to do something you've been needing to do, but that doesn't necessarily give license for recklessness without consequence. Okay, so a couple of to-do things that you can use here are to organize your property, your land, your house, your home, your family. Really focus on it. Have key conversations with family members. Tend to your inner child. Just kind of ask some questions about your emotional security and what you can do to set yourself up for more acknowledgement there. And even just practical things like insurance policies. Really know what you have there. Look at the fine print of your leases. Get to know your mortgage terms. See how the plan is working with your financial payoffs for these things. Those are all really great use of this full moon because it elucidates it. It can bring things to light, and you may discover something about one of these arenas that are really, really important to know. Okay, fixed energy this month. Fixed energy speaks the language of Taurus. And we've got long-term Pluto in Aquarius, and joining Pluto, we've got shorter term Astrea, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus and Mercury, all in Aquarius. Now, this is also kind of creating this pressure point, and it's culminating in the energy of friendships and your place within the community. We talked about that in the intro. But specifically for Taurus, this is in your work, your employment, with a parental figure or authority figure, or your place out in the world, which doesn't have to be financial. It could be a passion project. It could be you part of a civic association. It could be you, in a town planting group or whatever. But there's something, a lot of things, more than something. Every single planet here is making that angle, that saying something has to change. There's pressure here, and there are opportunities here. Because of all the Aquarius, networking may be the solution to finding your perfect job. And someone that you know within your communities or some other communities may have the key to what your passion project you're trying to bring out, or can give you employment opportunities. In the earlier part of the month, new employment opportunities may be easier for places that you've never been to or heard of before, launching new businesses and such. And as the month progresses, it leans towards going back to work or companies that you worked for in the past, types of work you did in the past, contacts from the past who can link you up with something. So job hunters, honor that retrograde as the month develops, because you may find opportunities in key connections that you already have or past, with past focus. One of the things that's happening here with all this Aquarius energy, of course, is the solar eclipse on February 17th. And you'll be feeling that eclipse energy in January, early January, all of February. It gets the strongest on the 17th. But the way eclipse seasons work is that you really can get that life-changing news the month before, the month of, the month after. So we're in that time frame where keywords that go along with this 10th house are coming up times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus the eclipse 8. So times 8, the career, the public image, the legacy, the reputation, authority, visibility, life direction, your calling. And the eclipse layer brings fate. It brings this timeline jump. It brings the major pivots. It brings chapter closes and new ones opening. So remember, we have this new eclipse cycle. This is a 28-degree Aquarius eclipse on the 17th. It's almost 29 degrees. And this is running from now into 2028. The last time we had this happen was early 2017 through 2019. And prior to that was early 2008 through the end of 2009. So you may look back and see changes in these arenas that happened that were of major meaning in that time frame. Now, big important point. If you had something difficult that happened in that time, it doesn't mean that it will happen again, because there are factors that are different now than there were then. But there are some general themes, and sometimes lessons or experiences do cycle around. Some things you can expect with all of this energy here are career plot twists. Like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Aquarius is super inventive. Can bring things from that lightning strike, zap, out of the blue. So after a long time of searching, something may just fall into your lap. Job changes, promotions, endings, sudden opportunities that alter your trajectory in a very, very big way. Not only for your job and employment, but also for your direction in life, which may or may not have anything to do with, your financial aspect of earning money. You may also see a shift in how you're seen publicly. You get a new title, you get a rebrand, you get a new niche, you get a dropping of an old professional identity and the beginning of a new group of people who know you as something else. An example of this, I had been known to people. I had a real estate business for a long time. I was a landlord. Prior to that, I had a corporate job. I used the money from my corporate job to fund my real estate business to get out of the golden handcuffs of the corporation. And then I went through a cycle where I moved to a spiritual community and was not wanting to be known as a real estate investor anymore. I wanted to be known as an astrologer. And we see how that went, right? So this is that time for you, where your redefinition of how you do what you do, is really up for this brand new way, or this expansion of what you're doing. You may have things go on with changes in bosses that could be sudden, organizations, institutions, where you step up or you step away. Social media can definitely play a big part in this. You have to definitely treat this as a destiny window for choosing the next version of your public self, because, destiny, that word destiny, is always involved when we've got eclipse time. The more you can lean into those energies of Aquarius, technology, innovation, community impact, humanitarian work, networks, unconventional paths, things like that, you'll be really vibing with the the resonance of the energetics in that area for you. One question that you can ask yourself, if you weren't afraid of judgment, what would you be known for? You know, if you didn't think that anyone would judge you or you wouldn't care if they did, what would you be known for? And taking action on those types of, changes in your path. And maybe it will be quietly in the backdrop for now, or maybe you're taking your giant leap now. Okay, so some things to look out for. Letting fear or instability stop you from taking these new steps. You know, there's something that wants to happen. Synchronicity will guide you. Careful with burning bridges publicly. This is a point of tension for Taurus, as I talked about before, but it does speak the language of fixed. And that's what the Leo and the Aquarius and the Taurus have in common, is that they are fixed energy. So there is a steadiness to some of the unstable forces that may be at play here, but all of this Aquarius energy can be very quick to burn a bridge. So you might be tending to your reputation as one of your biggest assets and be thinking about that. So some to-do things that you can do to make the most of this time: update your resume, your bio, update your website. If you have to launch a new one, the earlier part of the month is great for that. Align your outer presentation with who you're becoming. You may take pictures and update things. In the beginning of the month, it's still a really great time to clarify a 5 to 10 year vision of what you would like to do and how and who you would like to be. And if you have found that you are in an outdated professional context of some sort, you may be planning your graceful exit strategy at this time. Okay, so this big 6,000 or more than 5,000 year transit of Saturn and Neptune moving together in Aries, this is happening for you in your 12th house. And let's talk about some key words to understand the energetics at play. And this is a very long-term energy. These planets will be in here for years. They will be close together for a while. All this month, certainly they're close. They've been dancing back and forth for a while now as well. So, new beginnings, subconscious patterns, karma, retreat, rest, spirituality, psychology, mysticism, mental health, isolation versus connection, addiction, behind the scenes work. All of those things are coming together. And remember that Neptune rules the 12th house. So it's very comfortable there. Saturn is here rumping and bumping around. And that can weigh a little bit heavily on your mind. If you are a Taurus that has become depressed, or, that your mind has more weight, this Saturn energy that can be part of that heaviness in your mind can also be used to have the discipline to clear it, either through getting support through others, through meditation. Saturn wants to help you manage your unruly mind, while Neptune wants to help you expand it to the farthest reaches of its possibilities. So it's very cool. All right, so the idea of building structure around spiritual things is going to be very key for this aspect for you all. And focusing on finishing cycles and eradicating things that have been a nuisance to you, like an inner mental pest. The inner mental pests, are really ready to be dealt with. Now, something that has been surprisingly helpful for being so safe. Now, I am not diagnosing, treating, or prescribing. I'm just educating as to something that's been helpful for you can look into. Bach flower remedies, BACH. And there's also the Australian bush remedies. I'm a little bit newer to these, but I have to say, they're pretty powerful. And they work on an energetic level. You can look into them if you're into that kind of stuff. But I always call them potions when I've made them for my kids. Like if they're anxious at night or worried about something, or, just have the various things that go on, where we put like a few drops of it in water, and it does more than you would think it could. So just look into those, because that might be something that can be supportive to your process. Okay, so some things to put on your to-do list for this aspect. make a non-negotiable list, some sort of structure for your daily spiritual development and your psychological support. And try to create a better rhythm and healthier boundaries around sleeping and guarding that space. Okay, so the last thing is the Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Now, Pisces is actually going to accentuate your 11th house, which is ruled by Aquarius. So even as these planets move on from Aquarius into Pisces and join the Pisces party where transiting North Node and Pallas Athena have already started, and Mercury will retrograde in Pisces. It will leave Aquarius, go into Pisces, retrograde in Pisces. And I gave you those dates in the intro. But this is more focus on Aquarian energies with a Piscean tilt. So let's talk about some of the key words here. We've got the friends, the groups, the community. We've got the social media, the networks, the audience. We've got the collaborations and the long-range plans. As the month progresses, it will be a little harder to focus on those long-range plans unless you're dividing the long-range plans into small, manageable bites that you're going to work on during the retrograde. The review is, or the retrograde is bringing you the chance to review, to redo, to reconnect, to revise, and you may find that you have massive blasts from the past in your social networks, friendships or otherwise. People will be coming out of the woodwork, and that will be kind of interesting. Old friends, old colleagues, past collaborators may blast in from the past. Some things that are good to do with all this Pisces energy, because the planets are going to move through Pisces. You've got this, other energy in the 12th house of Pisces, backing up your contacts, backing up your email lists, backing up your important digital files, really just seeing to your online safety and your identity safety and your house safety, because Pisces rules, like the protections or boundaries or lack thereof. So weak spots in your insurance, coverage, just things that you're not usually thinking of. This could be a good time to review those kind of things. All right. So if you like my work, thank you for liking, subscribing, and getting notifications so you don't miss anything from me. If you want more information about the sweet and salty dates, I gave you quite a few dates, but you can go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash to grab that free star report for February. And if you want to see what 2026 and beyond has for you, look at my personalized reports at AnnieBClarity.com, Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, and check out my astrology certification course. Okay, I'll see you in the next report. Bye for now. Hello, Gemini friends. It's Annie Botticelli here. Welcome to my Gemini February 2026 Astrology Horoscope report. If you didn't already listen to the intro, you may find some valuable information there. But what we're going to talk about here can serve as a standalone reading, minus some important facts that were given in the intro. This is for you if Gemini is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Gemini placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Gemini friends, so birthdays like June 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Gemini placements through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Cancer report, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, and that Cancer report will immediately follow this time-stamped one, so you can easily find it that way and just continue listening. So we've got all of these Aquarius energies, long-term Pluto, shorter-term Estrella, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, all in Aquarius, fellow air sign. The stars are really speaking your language at this time. Speaking of mental connections, social gatherings, and joining with your tribe of people. It speaks to long distance travel and immigration and adventure and excitement and writing and publishing and teaching and learning, education. Very big storyline here. Also, Uranus is teeter-tottering on popping back into Gemini at some point, still close enough to be influencing Gemini. So a lot of Geminis, especially if you are in the early time frame. So May 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, you all are getting zapped with this electric energy and of Uranus moving into your sign. But all Gemini placements this month are going to be getting this electric zap, because this is, what Aquarius brings. It is the energy of electric, and this is in a very favorable, the best possible favorable aspect for Gemini placements. So this is really exciting. I'm going to get into more of that when we get up to the part about the solar eclipse, but I want to go in order here. On February 1st, we've got a full moon at 13 degrees of Leo. And for you, that's going to be here in your third house, which is your Gemini house. Some key words that you can expect in the days at the beginning of this month. Revelation, courage to speak, expression, messages, siblings or other relative themes, communication breakthroughs, mobility, devices, cars, other vehicles, transport, your local friendships, groups, community, ideas, conversations. All of these are ruled by this space, and this full moon is likely to be full of this. Now, this full moon, I am doing an extra video on this, so be on the lookout on my channel or wherever you listen to me, because this is kind of a big one. So because I'm condensing all of these videos in one video as timestamp, it's actually giving me a little extra time to do some additional videos. So I will be posting around weekly now, as long as I'm following this format. Yeah, so this full moon is lighting up this house of, expression. So you can expect some things like this: a bold message that you need to hear or deliver, a communication project that's reaching a culmination. This could be an amazing time for launching a writing or speaking or other project that has to do with communication. It could be an amazing time to buy a device or get a new car. You can have a breakthrough with a sibling or a neighbor or a key relative of some sort. You can have sudden clarity around an idea or a class. You've got a lot of education energy lighting up here, and this is actually going to be a longer term theme to come when we start to look at the eclipse energy. But right now it's super, super strong. All right, so let's just talk about that now. All right, so when we're looking at all of this Aquarius energy plus the solar eclipse energy, it's at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius on February 17th. That's the one we're talking about now. The last time it happened was between 2017 and 2019, and prior to that, it was early 2008 to the end of 2009. So the shorter term, we've got these planets moving through. The longer term, we have an eclipse, that cycle that starts now and goes until 2028. So a 2-year new cycle in great angles for Gemini is being initiated at this point. So look for themes, ninth house themes like expansion, and look for eclipse-related themes like a destiny shift, and Sagittarius-related themes, because Sag rules this ninth house, a worldview upgrade, publishing, as we talked about before, a legal turning point. There could be academic beginnings or culminations. And it's interesting because this eclipse is at 29 degrees. So even though it's a solar eclipse bringing new beginnings and the beginning of a cycle, it's at a degree that is a culmination degree. So there may be some quick culmination that seems random and like it was not going to happen for a long time. These are also your belief systems. So you may be getting an update or an upgrade to how you see things in the bigger picture. And it's inviting you out beyond your current ways of looking at things. Some of you may experience this through an armchair warrior, like being an armchair warrior, where you're learning about things far away, but you're right in your armchair. And others are going to be traveling far and wide during these years, and with a special focus now. So expect a new study path to open up, or one that you've already been on to develop. Expect a certification path or a diploma path or some sort of academic pursuit, a publishing opportunity. And if you're launching something, this full moon could be amazing for that, the days right at the beginning of the month. Something with a legal matter being initiated. Some good ways to use this energy are to say yes to opportunities that broaden your global or intellectual reach. This is a lot about social energy and networking and how other people and important groups have important keys, and how you blend your creative energies into a bigger purpose where you feel like you belong, where you're not alone. Okay, so some to-do lists here. Begin studying something meaningful to you. If you've been wanting to take a certain class, this could be an amazing time. Map out a long-term travel plan for now or for another time. Initiate publishing or teaching. And look into expanding your platform or your reach with whatever your messages are. All right, so in the days around February 20th, we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. As we talked about before, Saturn and Neptune get together every 35 to 36 years. Saturn and Neptune were conjunct in the sign of Aries about 500 to 600 years ago. But actually at 0 degrees, this first degree of the whole zodiac wheel, it had to have been more than 5,000 years ago, because that's the furthest amount of time that we have reliable records for, an ephemeris back that far. So we know that it didn't happen in this last 5,000 years. So it's a really big deal. And I am going to do a separate video on that too, so you can look out for that. It will come out closer to the time. And you can find all my stuff at anniehelpsyou.com/astrology, because that's the place where you have the podcast and the video all in one place. Okay, so what might you see, and where is this happening for you? So this is going to be in Aries. So for Gemini, Aries is going to be in your 11th house. Now, it's interesting about the 11th house is that it's ruled by Aquarius, and we already talked about having all this Aquarius energy plus this Aquarius solar eclipse. So you're going to have an extra dose of Aquarius energy, which is a fellow air sign. So look for the possibility of dissolution of friendships or circles, the restructuring of them, different karmic experiences in your friendship circles, a strong pull to new groups or back to old groups aligned with your values, a long-term dream finally coming to fruition or getting structure, letting go of relationships with technology and social media that are not serving you, or the opposite end, leaping into doing more of it. So navigating your relationship with those experiences. You may become a teacher or a guide or a voice in a collective space during this time, because a new social identity is emerging for you, and it may involve you becoming known within your social circles for something specific that will likely be very fulfilling for you. So you can use this energy by planting seeds for your long-range vision. Even though as the month progresses, we are getting into the retrograde, this is a very, very big transit, so you still can plant those seeds for future development. You can also become more intentional with your group involvement. This is very much about your tribe, the people that speak your language, and how other people can help your mission and how you can help theirs. So it's a really good time to join a community that's aligned with your purpose. Okay, so then we have Mercury retrograde in Pisces. We also have a lot of these Aquarius transits moving into Pisces as the month progresses. So we'll be very full of Pisces, and that is at a different angle for you. That's going to bring the energy of emotion as the month progresses, which is one that is not the language of Gemini. Not to say that Geminis can't be super emotional. Of course, we're complex beings. We're all sentient beings. But just strictly from your Gemini placement, the emotions can slow things down. They can mucky things. They can interfere with communication. And, those are things that can create challenges. What you are very likely to see is a very strong focus on your place out in the world, whether that's employment and career for those of you who need to make money, or whether that's your passion projects for those of you who don't need to make money, or if you're doing a passion project on the side of your business. You may notice a career slowdown or a redirection or temporary confusion or an opportunity that comes from the past, and networking groups may hold the keys to that. You may be revising your branding or reconsidering your direction within your work or within your, passion project. A past career, a past job, or a past contact could come back and be very helpful for you, or at least be something that you need to consider. Your intuition is going to factor in really strongly. And remember, with the Mercury retrograde, it's not the best time to make final decisions. So by the time we're getting all of this energy into Pisces, we're already out of the window, free from personal planet retrogrades and their shadow periods. So it's more of a dreamy, artistic, intuitive process where the emotional connections to people factor in more strongly than the material expression. Some things to look out for are miscommunications within the workplace. Definitely be on extra alert for not sending a text really fast that you've done voice to text, that it wound up using crazy adult words, which could be very embarrassing or ruin your chance for something that you're trying for. So, it's a very muddled energy communication wise, and it's very emotional. So you'll just notice this as the month goes on. You could feel a little bit oversensitive to criticism. You could feel a little bit distracted, or really actually a lot distracted, because even though all of this Aquarius energy speaks your language, these are mental energies. They're not taking action energies like we had in January. That was a lot of that Capricorn energy was like, okay, we can have the focus and discipline to do something. This is going to make your mind spiral. Okay. And Gemini's minds tend to already spiral. So you may have to cling on to something for dear life, like a seahorse holds on to a seagrass with its tail. That's going to be you at this time. It's my seahorse. I don't think it really looks like a seahorse, does it? But anyway, there he is. So clinging on to the seagrass, just look for something to cling on to, because that it's going to be that kind of month. But it's going to be an amazing time to reconnect with past clients or collaborators, to reevaluate your long-term goals, but not necessarily make big decisions about them unless it's earlier in the month, and to create a space for this intuition to shine within your workspace or shine within your passion project. A massive amount of overwhelm could come from all of the social possibilities and all of these Pisces watery energies. So, if you can schedule yourself a rest in between, and in general, it's best to not overschedule yourself when we're talking about a Mercury retrograde cycle, then, you'll have those key points that you need to rest in between all of this crazy energy. Okay, so grab your free February 2026 sweet and salty written report at anniehelpsyou.com. Just click on Unleash. If you want to see what 2026 and beyond has in store for you from the perspective of the outer planets and my take on that for you, go to anniebclarity.com, Annie, the letter B, clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology and you resonate with how I teach, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. I am doing kind of weekly videos right now. As long as I'm having this format where I'm doing all of the videos in one with the timestamps, then it actually frees me up to do some additional videos. So definitely keep an eye on anniehelpsyou.com/astrology, or if you click on Unleash at anniehelpsyou.com, you will get notified when I have new posts. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye. Friends, welcome to the segment just for you for Cancer February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. If you already listened to the intro, then you've got a good foundation for what I'm going to add here. But if you didn't, you may miss a few points, but basically this will be a standalone reading full of info just for you. All right, so this is for you if Cancer is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Cancer placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Cancer friends, so birthdays like July 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23-degree placements through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Leo report, as your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. And you can just listen in succession after this one, because Leo will be timestamped right after it, so it will be in a row. Okay, so we've got, see our list. We'll start right at the beginning of the month. We've got that full moon in Leo, bringing fullness, completion, fruition, drama, opportunity, elucidation to your financial sector. Expect a time where your financial self-worth is being evaluated. You may have a storyline regarding those things for your financial world reach their peak illumination. So something involving money or incoming or price or income or pricing, or anything having to do with your possessions. You may have a breakthrough about what you deserve versus what you've been settling for. Emotional security and material security merge. making choices, feel really high stakes, and there may be something really important going on. A big purchase, which especially the beginning of the month has a lot of clear energy for that. Big sales all year, like if you have to sell something of value. Although the earlier part of the month does have more clarity in contracts for purchases and sales. Some keywords here are self-worth, value revelations, financial aspects, things involving your confidence as it relates to money and your earning. And you can use it to raise your prices, or you can use it to renegotiate terms, or to ask for what you're worth, or to start a new project that may generate a new stream of income. And other things on your to-do list that you can take care of now are to review your budget from an empowered stance. Think about how fear has factored into your equation and see if you can release some of the tension around fear. If you haven't already checked out Margaret Lynch's YouTube channel, she's got a great EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique channel geared towards financial consciousness. And just with that free resource, you may have some amazing breakthroughs, because this is a time for financial breakthroughs. Okay, so then we've got, in the days around February 17th, we've got the solar eclipse at almost 29 degrees. As we talked about in the intro, this is a new cycle that's starting at the beginning of 2026 and going into 2028. The last time we had this happen was 2017 to 2019. So you can think back to then, or think back to early 2008 to the end of 2009, and the things we're about to talk about were happening then as well. But if something happened then that wasn't great, don't worry. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen again. It just means that some themes may come back around in the areas that we're going to talk about. So a solar eclipse brings new beginnings, and that, along with long-term Pluto, short-term Astrea, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury are all lighting up your 8th house of shared resources, of intimacy, of debt and taxes and power and empowerment, of estates and legacy from a financial perspective, trusts, and lotto winnings, and government money or earnings or payouts, insurance money. All of those things are being very strongly highlighted at this time, and you will see a lot of attention there. You may be focusing on your financial legacy, or you may be a recipient to someone's will, or you may be merging finances. You may just have money come to you magically, or you may be consciously working. You can see between the Leo and the Aquarius polarity at this time, we've got not only in the short term, but also because, into 2028, we've got this my money versus our money, my stuff versus our stuff, polarity very strong. So you will see that happening this month. Expect a major shift in shared finances, agreements in those arenas, intimacy patterns or personal power dynamics, possibly power struggles, people holding money over you, toxic money. You may choose to restructure debt or renegotiate loans or unravel old trauma patterns around sustenance. This could be a time where you really could step into more of a sovereign version of yourself within the partnerships and the collaborations and the financial dealings or emotional dealings. This is an emotional house, even though we have very mental Aquarius energy there. So keywords for this period of time, not only for this month, but also echoed out for a couple of years, are karmic clearing, financial entanglements, deep healing, psychological detox, mysteries, things with the unseen and the lesser known worlds. You can use this energy to clean up your agreements, to clean up your contracts, both literally and figuratively, in relationship and for tangible things. And you've got a major, major chance to rewrite how you merge resources and energy and trust in intimate, vulnerable spaces. There could be a context of group dynamics that the Aquarius is bringing. There could be social networking or even opportunities to learn about trusts through groups of people who are teaching about such things. And you may have opportunities this month to up your financial IQ in these arenas. Okay, so as the month progresses, we're going to get into the exact alignment of Saturn and Neptune conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries. Saturn and Neptune get together every 35 to 36 years. Not super long transit compared to when we look at the last time Saturn and Neptune were in Aries, which was 500 to 600 years ago. And when we look at when these came together at the first point of the zodiac, 0 degrees of Aries, very critical reset point for humanity, it's had to have been over 5,000 years, because that's the furthest we can go back to have reliable ephemeris records. And it didn't happen in that time. So we know that this is a really, really major thing that's occurring here. And I am going to do a separate video both on the full moon and on this Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So look out for those. Oh, and actually the eclipse I will do. Since I'm putting all of this in the format of the timestamps, it's actually freeing me up to do more content. So look out for more details in their own videos as these dates get closer. But I want to look specifically at some of the keywords here for you, and also where this is going to occur for Cancer. Okay. We've got a lot of the energy of destiny shift coming from the eclipse cycle, and from these two behemoths coming together in Aries, we also have that going on. The dissolution of old identities. Neptune dissolves, Saturn builds. So we've got this simultaneous dissolving and building process. We have this simultaneous spiritualizing and materializing process. It's kind of like instant karma or instant clearing or instant manifestation or instant creation from the ethereal realm of Neptune, that inner watery, those inner watery depths, out into Saturn, which is the form. It rules the skeleton of our body, and it rules the form and the systems of our lives. So you've got all that going on with these new beginnings in Aries in your place out in the world. Work, career, employment, you as a parental or authority figure, relationships with your parental or authority figures. If you have career confusion, you may have more of it as you have a simultaneous dissolving out of one path and manifestation of another. You may have burnout. You may have a major new beginning. You may have a major calling, a major intuition, something that feels like it's just being born, but you feel like it has a lot of promise. So asking questions about getting, clear about these things can bring you in information this month. Releasing goals in your outer world, whether it's for money, career, employment, very big career employment aspect for Cancer, but many of you don't have that as something that you need to address. And for you, this could be your place out in the world, or your position as an authority figure, which has nothing to do with earning money. And for everyone, this can be passion projects or something that you are starting that may feel like it has a slow build, but the transit can activate it into an instant sort of manifestation. Until around the 12th can be really good for making big decisions or initiating important things of any kind related to this transit or otherwise. As the month progresses, remember to be that earthworm and sort of just deal with what's right in front of you. It just keeps going back and back over the dirt, making it more and more fertile for future crops. And that's what you're doing at this point. As the month progresses, after you do your last push of moving things out into the world, you can become that earthworm, go back over, edit, reevaluate, streamline. And that will be very much in sync with the natural rhythms. Now, the last point here has to do with Mercury retrograde. And that is actually a lot of these planets, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, are going to go into Pisces, and they're going to join Pallas Athena and transiting North Node, which are already there, and have a Pisces party that will be accentuated by Mercury going retrograde in Pisces. So all of this is in fellow water sign, so that's exciting. The retrograde energy brings things back from the past, a review of things, and it brings attention to the emotional level, to your inner world. All right, so some keywords here: spiritual review, re-editing your beliefs. Your beliefs are very strong here in the 9th house, where all of this is happening for Cancer. Things having to do with your higher mind, like looking at things from a bird's eye view, because that's what Sagittarius does, is it just sort of, I think this looks more like a pterodactyl. Anyway, you're getting your bird's eye view, and this is what this is all about: expanding your perceptions and perspectives and getting a chance to look at the bigger picture of things. Cancers can sometimes get small with their focus when your emotional world is taking you deeper into yourself, and this is an opportunity where you can keep that emotional focus but broaden the scope. So all of these placements are going to be making trines the most favorable aspect in astrology with your placement, and some of them are also going to tie in to make trines with Jupiter, which is still retrograde, which is going through your sign and in the first house. So some of the things that you may see happen is some rewiring and support emotionally. You can also be rethinking and rewriting a story about your life that as it has been so far and what you are wanting to do for the future. This can be a literal story like publishing. The ninth house is infamous for being very much related, or I guess I should say famous for, not infamous for, publishing books, writing, speaking, teaching. You may start education or go back to something you were studying, or get back interested in something that you wanted to do, or start something new from the education perspective. You may be bringing new content out, and the earlier part of the month could be even better for that if it's brand new. Some things on your to-do list to make this good use of this energy is to revisit old courses or old subjects you wanted to study. Look at old manuscripts or teachings from things that you've already studied. Spend time journaling. This is a very emotional stream of consciousness type of energy. It's a time of rest in between all of this Aquarian social energy, but there's really a predominance of water going on, especially when you consider that even these Aquarian energies are in a water house for Cancer. So it's very intuitive, it's very quiet, it's very much about review, and overall, this is just a month for structural transformation from the perspective of Saturn. This is a chance for your finances to get a mega focus, a lot of attention as you move along the path of your financial empowerment. Go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click Unleash to grab your free Sweet and Salty report for February. If you want to see what my take is in lots of detail in my personalized video package for your 2026 and beyond from the perspective of the outer planets, these slow-moving behemoths, go to Annie B. Clarity, Annie the letter B, clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology and you resonate with how I teach, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. I hope you have a wonderful month. Make sure to look out for my now weekly posts. As long as I am doing this format, I've been doing YouTube for over 13 years. I switch things around a little bit, but as long as I'm doing the format where I'm timestamping the horoscopes in one video, that leaves me some room and time to do extra content. So you can look at AnnieHelpsYou.com/astrology to see my player page for my podcast and my YouTube page, or you can just keep track wherever you listen to me. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will see you next month or in the next report. Bye. Hey, hello, Leo friends. Welcome to my Leo February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. This is for you if Leo is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Leo placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. If you didn't already listen to the intro, the earlier part of this video, you may want to get some background because I talk about some important things there that I'm not going to repeat in this Leo specific portion. I'm just going to add to what we already covered there. But if for whatever reason you're not going back to the beginning, or you can't go back, or you didn't watch the intro, there will be, this information will stand alone as a Leo reading for you as well. So if you have late degree Leo placements, so birthdays like August 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Leo placements or later through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Virgo report, as your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, so we're going to go over the 4 points that we covered in the general transits and see what they look like for Leo, starting with this fabulous, radiant, once in 13 moons, full moon in Leo, your moon, right at the beginning of the month, February 1st. We've got that right in the first house. This is a very major time of rebirth. This is a time for identity breakthroughs and personal visibility and self-revelation, health awarenesses and healings. Things having to do with your physical body and vitality. This can have to do with the energy of Leo, which has to do with your creative projects. You may see something with your identity or your body or your appearance or your personal narrative get brought to a culmination or a peak in something that's deeply personal to you, how you present yourself, what you stand for, what you're becoming, what you would like to become. If you want to do something drastic or different with good energy moving forward, remember the tidal analogy that I always use. The tides are going out still until around February 12th. So if you've got to take some action and do something important that you want to be permanent, that you need more clarity around for contracts, etc., the first 11 or so days of the month are better for that than the latter part of the month, because we dive into the retrograde and things get a little murky, little more on not solid ground. So this full moon is an amazing touch point, manifestation point, creation point, bring out point for you to do something important. This can also be a very ego clarifying moon in the way that old versions of yourself can be stepped right out of. And the fact that we have the eclipse this month is facilitating major timeline and trajectory shifts. As I mentioned in the intro, when we've got eclipses happening, we've got a lineup of heavenly bodies that change the way time and space bend. So you feel that weird, dreamy, trippy, synchronicity blessed time where, deja vu is happening and time feels weird and timelines shrink, and it's a real thing. It's a scientific phenomenon that occurs because of the alignment of the heavenly bodies and the merging of the forces of the gravitational fields of these bodies. So the weird things that we experience at eclipse time, you'll be experiencing that January, all of February, all of March, and even after, because as the alignments start to take shape in eclipse season, which are sometimes 4 to 6 or even more weeks before the eclipses, this really gets strong. But here in February 17th is this solar eclipse at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius. So you will be feeling it. Major, major life changes. And Leo is one of the 2 signs that are targeted now from 2026 until 2028. So you've got 2 years of personal and relationship transformation. You are standing at the precipice of this. New relationships, ending of old relationships, new levels to relationships, new way to do relationships, to yourself, your physical body, all of this being redone, collaborating in magical ways. So collaboration is a huge theme at this time, because not only is the solar eclipse in Aquarius in your 7th house of collaboration, also long-term Pluto, Astraea, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury are all in Aquarius, which is your opposing sign. This is your polarity. So this is a 2-year storyline from the eclipse perspective, but it's extra highlighted at this time, at the launch, the initiation of this eclipse cycle, and because of all of these Aquarius placements being here. So expect major fated meetings. You've already been having that go on with Pluto. Pluto lurking around your 7th house cusp is a time when fated meetings often happen. You've been going through this for some years. This isn't new, because Pluto has a very long transit. It's very slow. But you'll be getting turning points and commitments and changes to who you attract and the kinds of things you attract. You'll be looking for and getting more clarity about the kind of people who support your life and who you want to collaborate with. New people can come in, especially in the early part of the month. Old people, not just old people in age, but old people in your life, previous people from your past, can come in new contexts, or something having to do with advancing in some way. Money is involved. Love is involved. Relationships are involved. Ambitions are involved. Passion is involved. Communication is involved. And all of these players are here. So setting intentions around healthier partnerships is a really, really good idea to maximize this energy. Anything that you can do to welcome these connections that reflect your current position and this reevaluation process of the people in your life as you figure out who you're going to take with you moving forward. It's also a time to evaluate contracts that are already in place and to practice interdependence instead of overgiving. All right, so this is a new level of interdependence that you will be moving towards during this cycle. All right, so let's see. So the last time this eclipse happened was in 2017 to the early 2019. And then before that, early 2008 to the end of 2009. So you may have seen a similar me versus we, as I like to call this polarity, or set of events of having to do with your creative expression versus groups or communities of people, and how that became enlivened or radically changed in those periods of time. You may see some similar trends or themes at this time. If something bad happened then, it doesn't mean that will repeat itself per se, because there are different stars now than there were before, and this is just one level of a cycle. So in general, the stars are very much speaking your language as they speak the language of air. That goes beautifully well with fire. All right, so moving down the line, on February 20th, we've got Saturn-Neptune conjunct. Saturn and Neptune get together about every 35 to 36 years. Still a long-term cycle, but Saturn and Neptune in Aries hasn't happened for 500 to 600 years. And at 0 degrees of Aries, the initiation point of all of humanity, it's been at least 5,000 years. We know that since it's happened, probably a lot more, because we only have reliable records that go back, or at least I have public access to those records that go back 5,000 years. So it's, we know it didn't happen in that time. This is strong all month. This has been lurking kind of in a connection for a while. And this can really, I'm going to do a separate report on each of these, the Leo, full moon, the solar eclipse, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So definitely look out for more detailed reports to come. This is sort of an introduction, and I wanted to narrow down on, the placements for each sign. But this is kind of a biggie. But some of the things that you can look for are a belief system reboot. This is occurring for Leos in your 9th house of how you see things, how you see the world. It's also happening in fellow fire sign Aries. So all of Leo placements can get a boost, but those of you right at the beginning. So Jessica, my buddy, who is right there at the early Leo placements, and all of you friends who have the July 20th, 21st, 22nd birthdays, you all, and even a little bit for 23rd, 24th, like you all are there in the early placements. You're going to get even more of a boost from this, because it's going to make a direct trine with your placement. But this is so powerful that no one in the zodiac, is going to not have opportunities that come from it. So things that can come from this, of course, education, teaching, learning. You may finally realize what you want to do when you grow up, no matter how old you are. And if you don't need the money, it may be studies just for yourself, but studying and teaching and learning and expanding and publishing and growing and philosophizing and traveling and adventure. There's a new process being born here. There could be a major redefinition point of what you believe or what you teach or what you stand for. There may be a crossroads in your education or certification process for something. There may be opportunities to connect with people globally, and all of this Aquarius energy is bringing the chance to connect. And the Sagittarius energy from this connection in the 9th house can make those connections be international. Either people who live in different countries, who are from different countries, you traveling to different countries. So this is, a very, 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 very big process that is opening up here at this time. Okay, so as we have a lot of these planets move into Pisces, the Sun, Venus, Mercury will join Pallas Athena and North Node in the 8th house of contracts, legacies, taxes, debt, shared finances, collaborations, mysteries, your inner world, psychology, your emotional and financial resources. So a lot of attention will be put on estates and winnings and earnings and lawsuits and payouts. It's a good time to find money or realize money or stock or something that you had from the past. You may discover money that you didn't know that you had, which is pretty exciting. With the retrograde, you may notice old financial matters resurfacing. You may be revisiting old intimacy issues. You can have an increase in sensitivity and psychic awareness. It's deeply intuitive when we have this water energy occurring, and it's also in a water house, as it is for Leo. This is a time of inner cleansing, purification of your space or in your body or your mind. Highly, highly intuitive, and very much a reevaluation process where you're considering things as it relates to your financial and your emotional contracts with people. Okay, so you can use this energy to review financial paperwork. You'll have more clarity at the beginning of the month until around the 11th or 12th. You may reevaluate the shared roles and resources that you have, family and spousal, etc. You may explore different kinds of therapy. This is a very strong psychological set of placements that you have here. So energy work, ancestral clearing, intuition and synchronicity will be very strong at this time. And there may be opportunities to unwind the emotional knots that want to dissolve. The energy of dissolution is something that's very strong at this time with the solar eclipse and with this energy of Neptune merging with Saturn. All right, so some things on your to-do list. Audit your joint finances. Revisit contracts. Clean up your energetic entanglements. Clear out toxic money beliefs and relationships. Practice grounding. Focus on emotional security. And use your dreams and your symbolism, from animal messengers or numerological presences that continue repeating in your life, to decode the language of spirit that will be very strong at this time. If you pay attention throughout the month, you will feel the slow down of us stepping out of that open window and into the retrograde stars. If you don't align your rhythms naturally with that slowdown, you will start to get the keynote of Mercury retrograde, which is frustration. It's easier to make things happen at the earlier part of the month than it is as the month progresses, unless it is something that's naturally flowing and you are along for the ride. If you're trying to get something done as the month progresses and it's not working, you may save yourself a lot of drama and a lot of future work and present work by just going with the things that light up. If there's something that's lighting up and you just follow that flow like surfing a wave back to shore, then just jump on it. And if it's not, then just wait at the shore for things, for the tides, maybe in the form of people, to show up and come to you. All right, so as the month progresses, you're in that kind of pause mode, dealing with the things that come to you rather than trying to conjure. If you like my work, thank you for liking and subscribing and enabling notifications. Go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash to grab your free 2026 star report with my sweet and salty dates. I gave you a bunch of dates for this month, but I have even more that we can go into, talking about some of my favorite and some of the most challenging aspects of the month. If you want my take on the 2026 and beyond outer planet transits for you, go to Annie B Clarity, Annie the letter B, clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology with me, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. Look out for my will be around weekly posts now. You won't miss anything if you go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and click on Unleash, or stay subscribed and be on the lookout. You can go to AnnieHelpsYou.com/astrology for my podcast player and my YouTube player all on one page. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you in the next report. Bye for now. Hello, Virgo friends. Welcome to my Virgo February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. If you didn't already listen to the intro at the earlier part of this video or podcast, you may want to go back and get some important information to lay the foundation for what we're about to discuss. But if for some reason you didn't or can't get back there, then this will also serve as a standalone reading for Virgo. This is for you if Virgo is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Virgo placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Late degree Virgo friends, so birthdays like September 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree placements through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my my Libra report, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. All right, so we're going to go over the 4 points that we discussed earlier for the general scene, but specifically for Virgo. This is all about you all. So the full moon at 13 degrees of Leo, we're going to start with that. That's February 1st. We launched the month off with this very dramatic, very fiery full moon where hidden emotions are going to surface. A lot of things going on behind the scenes for Virgo because the full moon is in this 12th house of that subconscious mind. The attic or the basement of your being is going to become elucidated with secrets coming out, or overstimulation, or intuitive leaps and breakthroughs in the night or at any time. Something happening behind the scenes that's reaching a peak, or that you're ready to birth. A need for retreat or rest or quiet or boundaries or personal pursuits at the beginning of the month here. This full moon can help you to have an epiphany about what is draining you. And your health is very focused on this month with all this Aquarius energy. We'll get to that. But your mental wellness, your physical wellness, you may use this full moon as an opportunity to release some sort of burden or a habit or a pattern or guilt, or, just something that's no longer serving you. You also can really, really actively use spirit messages. Synchronicities will be very strong. Spirit will be speaking very loudly, and you may get very clear guidance about what things you need to do in your next steps. Some great ways to use the energy are to schedule downtime. There's this both excitable energy with the full moon and the drama, and there could be some flair and creative output that can be amazing. But because it's in this behind the scenes house for you, it might not be a bad idea to schedule some downtime. There may be a lot of busyness, but it might be internal busyness. This is an amazing time to let your subconscious speak. Journaling, dream tracking, meditation, hypnosis, things like that. And to really work with something you've been holding on for too long. Fears, resentments, obligations. It's also a time to reevaluate and maybe very strongly set some stronger emotional boundaries. All right, so other things on your to-do list for this moon are clean up loose ends quietly. Leo is not particularly quiet, so there may be some robustness that comes with this, but it is focusing on your inner world and your behind-the-scenes world. Prioritizing sleep and your nervous system. It could be an amazing nervous system reset after some initial jostling. And this could be a purifying, a decluttering, a detoxifying time for your spiritual and your emotional space. You may find that you want to unplug. Now, strangely, when we look at all the Aquarius energy, super strong for social media, for interacting with groups, and it's super stimulating. But this particular full moon, you may just want to, rest and unplug for a while and close out some sort of unhealthy habit with intention. Okay, next up, Pluto long-term, short-term, Astrea, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, plus the solar eclipse on February 17th, with an eclipse season that started in January and is super strong all month of February, and you will feel into March when we will also have another eclipse. So that solar eclipse in Aquarius at 29 degrees is the first eclipse in a 2-year cycle that's beginning. And it will feature Leo and Aquarius. So your inner and your outer worlds, your structure versus your chaos, your emotions versus your practical pursuits. All of those things will be themes for a couple of years, and you'll have a very strong focus this month on these arenas. Some things that this Aquarian eclipse may bring to you, plus all this other energy in this 6th house of health, are health upgrades or restructuring to work or a lifestyle re-engineering, you could call it. So you may see major changes. And remember that Aquarian energy rules lightning, and it's a lightning strike. So things can happen all of a sudden with this. It's a very sudden type of shift. So you may see a major change to your daily routine or who is around you in your daily experience. Major changes to your schedule or your workload or how you're doing your work or where you're doing your work. Breakthroughs in health and healing and your functional well-being and stress management. You can have unexpected clarity about any of these things in your work arena, your daily schedule, or your health. This is also the house of pets and animals. So my fellow animal lovers, you may see a lot of busyness in the pet world. If you're trying to give an animal their forever home, you can follow your intuition to have that happen at any time. But there's extra special forward-moving long-term energy in the first part of the month, through around the 11th or so for that. But it doesn't mean that if your perfect pet comes in after that, you should ignore that. Just, if you're actively trying to look, that's an especially good time for new animals. Some things to expect: a new work chapter may suddenly appear, new responsibilities, new workflows, new associates. You may have a health issue evolve or resolve, or require some sort of fresh and maybe inventive and maybe technological approach. So be looking out for technological solutions from the Aquarian energies here. You may also get snapped out of self-sacrificing behaviors that are affecting your health. So you can use this energy to upgrade the systems in your life, your daily experiences. You can embrace new technologies or tools. You can revisit or change or experiment with your relationship with technology and electronics. A lot of electronics will be doing their thing, their Mercury retrograde thing. So you'll notice as the month progresses, appliances and communication getting haywire. As the month progresses, it's even more important to make sure that you don't send a text with the F word that your voice to text accidentally made the word duck into. Okay, so this is the kind of thing you have to watch out for at this time to save yourself embarrassment and possibly other trouble. Okay, so the next thing on our list is this behemoth Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Saturn and Neptune get together every 35 to 36 years. But Saturn and Neptune have not been in Aries for 500 to 600 years. And they haven't been conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries, the initial degree of the whole zodiac wheel, in more than 5,000 years, because that's the amount of time we have reliable ephemeris records. So we know it wasn't in that time that this has happened before. So, and we don't know when it was. We can speculate, but we can't really, we know that it's a long, long time. And so I want to talk about where that's going to be for you. I will also do a separate video on all of these things, actually. So you can look out for those kind of weekly over February. But I am going to speak to some of this specifically for you now. So, all right. So the Saturn and Neptune conjunction. Neptune is all about dissolving. Saturn's all about building. Neptune's all about intuition. Saturn's all about logic. Neptune's all about chaos and disorder, and Saturn's all about systems and structure and efficiency. And when these two come together, you can imagine they're a little bit of confusing energies mixing, but you can add spirit to your form, you can add structure to your spirituality, and you can use Saturn to help you structure your mind and your emotions, and you can use Neptune to soften your daily experiences and your material pursuits. So all of that's occurring for Virgo in your 8th house. Your 8th house has to do with other people's money, shared contracts. This is a big process having to do with long-term restructuring of your shared finances, taxes and debt and investments. There can be energy around healing generational patterns around trust and intimacy and vulnerability. And you may be actually working on trusts or other legal financial documents. Paying off debt, getting loans, winning money, getting payouts, getting settlements. You could see this become a major turning point in long-term commitments or shared obligations, spousal, familial, etc. You can dissolve old trauma imprints, and you can rebuild your inner strength. So this Neptune is this constant process of dissolution and spiritualizing. And so then Saturn's kind of running back next to it to kind of build as the sandcastles are falling. And this time adding some metal to the structure to keep it more supported. There may be fear patterns that are running quietly in the backdrop. This is a highly psychological series of lineup here. And then also with the Pisces energies, because Neptune rules Pisces, so we have it there. Transiting North Node, Pallas Athena, as the month progresses, Mercury and Mercury retrograde, Venus, the Sun, they're all going to get into Pisces, light up your 7th house of relationships, and bring more of this Neptunian energy of your inner world and dreams and synchronicity, the language of spirit, really, really shining strong at this time. All right, so this is a good time to audit your shared finances and commitments, to create emotional contracts or to reevaluate toxic or unserving connections that you have. This can be a time where you can release old stories about scarcity or betrayal. And all of these opportunities are coming not only from the connections between Neptune and Saturn, but also from these Pisces placements along with the retrograde. Okay, so you're going to revisit relationship dynamics during this Mercury retrograde cycle. The shadow period starts again February 12th, and then the retrograde starts on the 25th officially. So as the month progresses, we get deeper into that. This will be a time to clear up understandings within your relationship space. It's very relationship focused. This 8th house is a financial relationship house, an emotional relationship house. And the 7th house can be social situations or people close to you. What you may see are past relationship issues resurface for resolution. Partnership conversations may come back around to be dealt with. Partners from the past or people you know from the past, blasts from the past, could come up to find closure or clarity, or experiment with whether there's a place for you each still. One of the best ways to use the energy is to review and not finalize. Okay, so as the month progresses and we're out of that open window until around February 11th, it is a time to talk about and discuss and play with agreements. Reevaluate your boundaries, reevaluate your needs, clear up your misunderstandings. There's a softness that's involved here, but there is also this short-term kind of emotional focus where you're the earthworm redoing everything, and you are waiting on the shore as the tides are coming in, and you're seeing what the tides bring up for you, whether it's garbage that you have to throw out or whether it's a dolphin coming to say hi. As we proceed into the retrograde time, you can align with the natural rhythms more readily if you're not trying to conjure past around the 11th or so, and you really just see what comes to you and then deal with it. So if you want more dates, I gave you lots of dates, but you can get my full written sweet and salty report with all of my favorite dates, which are the sweet ones, and the salty ones, which are the not as sweet ones, at AnnieHelpsYou.com. Just click on Unleash to grab your free report. If you want my view on your outer planet transits, long-term transits, in my personalized video report series, go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie the letter B, Clarity.com. If you want to learn astrology and you resonate with how I teach, you can like my channel and follow me. I'm always teaching in all of my videos, but if you want something more structured to help you reach your astrology goals, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. Definitely look out for the videos that I'm going to have upcoming on the full moon, the solar eclipse, and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, so you can get more details about those as we are closer to those times. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you in the next report. Bye. Hello, Libra friends. Annie Botticelli here with my segment just for you. This is your Libra February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. Hopefully you've listened to the intro at the beginning of this video or podcast because it laid some groundwork for the things we're now going to discuss in more detail, specifically through the Libra lens. This is for you if Libra is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Libra placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Libra friends, so birthdays like October 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Libra placements through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Scorpio report because your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. And here in this time-stamped report, the Scorpio report just follows the Libra, so you can just listen right on through for you friends towards the end there. Okay, so we're going to go back and revisit these four major points. I'm going to go in order of the month so that you can have it structured from the beginning of the month to the end of the month. Some of the energies you will feel all month though, because they are pretty big. This full moon, we launch the month off February 1st with this 13 degree full moon. Fire, speaking the language that you understand, being an air sign, this works very well for you. What kind of things can you expect here from a full moon in Leo that's in your 11th house of Aquarius as a Libra? Some keywords: community, visibility, alliances, big social reveals. And if you do have a big reveal, the beginning of the month, like the first third of the month or so, around the 11th, February 11th to 12th, Before you get to that point, you've got the tides going out. So you've got a lot of space and energy and forward movement. Then after that date, we start to descend into Mercury retrograde, where we start pulling in and going backwards. So you'll feel those vibes change this month as you pay attention to it. And the more you align your energies with that shift, where you stop trying to make things happen as the month progresses and you just go with the flow of what wants to happen, then you will be not as frustrated and much happier and much more productive. Also leave yourself scheduled more lightly as the month progresses, because we do have a lot of intense transits that you may want to have some space for. And we also, it's just a good practice to do in the retrograde, because plans tend to shift. People tend to become less reliable, including yourself, because things come up. So back to this full moon in your 11th house. What can you expect? Some sort of culmination, fullness, completion, drama, for better or worse, in friendships, groups, committees, teams, networks, social media. You may have a very important revelation about something involving your participation in social media. You may unplug and take a break or do something drastic. You may alternatively launch your place in that scene. There may be a spotlight moment within your social sphere where you're recognized, or where you participate in a group process where there's accomplishment from the perspective of a group project, that you could be called forward or celebrated or confronted. This moon does have some challenging aspects to it. I will actually be making, because I'm condensing these reports into one video, it's so much easier for me. I can actually make some more content this month. So all of the things, these top 3 things I'm going to talk about, the full moon in Leo, the solar eclipse, and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, I am going to have dedicated videos for each of those, so you can watch as it gets closer to those times. But there are some tough aspects with this moon. So there could be some sort of conflict or some sort of, something that comes out that isn't the most pleasant, even though this is in a nice angle for you, which is helpful. You may see the truth about a friendship or a community or an alliance or some sort of dynamic that comes to the surface. You could have some sort of shift in where you belong, who you feel your people are that are speaking your language, who you resonate with, who makes you feel seen and heard, and where you no longer resonate. So this whole process that starts, and I'll get more into this when we talk about the Aquarius energies, but we will be starting this solar eclipse, or starting this eclipse cycle for Leo and Aquarius. That's a 2-year cycle from 2026 to 2028. And so this moon is, and then all of these Aquarius energies are kind of bringing in a very strong way this month, themes that you will also see present for the next 2 years. So all of these things with the communities and your individual expression and your creativity and you're part of a group and your feeling of belonging and your individual uniqueness, all of these will be dancing back and forth over the next couple of years. You may notice some sort of creative or collaborative project that's ready to reach this turning point or some sort of culmination. So you can use the energy to step into leadership. You can, within a group context, you can share your vision publicly. You can strengthen these alliances that are supporting your future self. And you can host and gather and organize and rally and, just come together for the greater good. Some things to watch out for or drama in friendships or social circles. Be really careful about what you post, because it could be a little bit more controversial than you expect. So just look out for that. So visibility and friendship truths and collective destiny and social spotlight and network cleansing or upgrades are all the types of keywords that will come out at this time. Now, those same themes are going to be further accentuated by the fact that Pluto long-term and then short-term Astrea, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury are all in Aquarius. And that solar eclipse on February 17th. But with eclipses, we don't just feel them on the day they're happening. We feel them months before sometimes. All of January, strong in February, and lingering into March. This particular eclipse is going to be very strong. We haven't had this eclipse cycle happen since 2017 to 2019. Prior to that, 2008 through 2009. So you can think back to, your friendship circles in those periods of time. How did they radically change? You can think back to all of these other things we're talking about with your place within the group and the internet and the technology, and how did that change? And there are new beginnings to be had here, but there's also some sort of culmination because it's a solar eclipse which is a new beginning, but it's a 29-degree, which is like a big culmination. So it's an interesting energy. Some things may gel very quickly. Some themes that you may see come up not just this month but also for the next couple of years are creativity, romance, true love, children, self-expression, authentic joy, hobbies and fun and pleasure. Some things you can expect from all of these placements in Aquarius moving through your Libra 5th house of Leo can be child-based. Yours or other people's children if you're a caretaker or a teacher. Something important as a milestone with your children or with a child. Some sort of powerful shift or renewal in romance, new relationship paths, a new relationship period, or a new chapter of one that you're in. Some sort of fresh attraction or renewed spark, or some sort of timeline reset. As I always talk about at the eclipse time, when the heavenly bodies, the sun, the moon, and the earth get together in alignment, the gravitational forces of each of these make a bigger gravitational force, which bends time and space stronger than when they are individual. So we see weird things happen with time. So this whole month may be trippy. It may feel like time is going slow and then fast, and then, that there are loopholes and wormholes and just time warps and all kinds of crazy things going on. Spirit speaking really loudly, deja vu, synchronicity, all will be very strong this month. All right, so look out for these big milestones and keep it on your to-do list that you might want to start a new creative project or move along one that has been happening. You may want to refresh your dating life. You may want to use the networks or your friendships to find perfect people. If you're not having luck doing dating the way that you're doing it, maybe doing it a different way. Maybe someone is trying to connect you with someone and you've just been avoiding it. Maybe it's time to do that. Or maybe it's time to be on a dating app, or maybe you're sick of those and you want to meet someone that knows somebody that you know. Whatever it is, it's some sort of reset here. And for those of you who are in established relationships, you can have a renewal and a refresh that comes to it. Okay, so on the 20th, we've got the official conjunction, but this is so powerful. It's so strong all month, before now and after now. And Saturn and Neptune get together about every 35 to 36 years. But that's not in any certain, that's just in any sign. We haven't had an Aries conjunction for between 500 and 600 years. And we haven't had a 0-degree Aries. We had close. It was like 2 degrees in that 500 to 600 year ago range. But 0 degrees is a very critical, important degrees. The 0 degree and the 29 degrees are the two most important degrees, mathematical points in the zodiac. So we know that we've got reliable ephemeris records that go back 5,000 years. And we haven't had a 0-degree Aries, Saturn and Neptune connection in that time. So I don't know how long before, but it was more than 5,000 years before since this has happened. So it's a collective reset for humanity. I'll talk about that more in the video for that. But I want to talk specifically about where it is for Libras, which is going to be in your house of relationships. All right, so something you can expect here: once in a lifetime shifts in partnerships, romantic, business, anything one-to-one. Keywords like partnership, commitment, boundaries, karmic completion or new karmic cycles, relationship truths, soul contracts, resetting. You may see the dissolving of old relational illusions, thanks to Neptune. You may see patterns of addiction within relationship or people with addictions coming up. You may see ethereal sort of spiritual connections that feel destined. You may look at patterns of self-abandonment. And along with all of this dissolution, Saturn is running right behind it, rebuilding, because Neptune dissolves and Saturn builds. Neptune brings the ethereal and Saturn brings the material. Neptune brings the chaos, and Saturn brings the organization and the structure. It rules our physical skeleton and the skeleton of our lives, the systems that we, base our lives on. So you'll see this restructuring of commitment at the same time as this dissolving. So there's a dissolving and there's a building. There's, a disillusionment or an idealistic view, while there's the realistic view of Saturn. And these are working in tandem. They're very strange energies to be together. So you'll be seeing these kind of seemingly conflictive things, but somehow working on the same team, as Neptune spiritualizes Saturn and Saturn brings the Neptunian ideas and feelings into form. You can use this energy to reset your relational boundaries, to figure out your emotional needs, and to really request that out of your relationships or build new ones based on these needs. You can add transparency. Neptune has to do with security breaches, deception. You can add transparency to your relationships. You can heal relationships. You can look at where you're giving too much away. Common discussion for Libras and Aries, as you sometimes may lose yourself in relationships. This Aries-Libra polarity, which is in the 1st and 7th houses for Libra, is very much about how can you be in relationship without giving up too much of yourself, and how can your relationship fuel your individual soul's growth, and how can you add your unique soul imprint to improve and enhance the people you're in relationship with. So you'll have some redefining moments in key relationships. You'll have chances to release outdated partnerships and to seek therapy or mediation or add spiritual practices or add some discipline. Saturn may bring some tests here, so you'll be feeling this really strongly, and anyone can feel any of this energy. But if you're in the early degrees of Libra, so like October 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, you all will even get an extra powerful boost because, for better or worse, just intensity, more obvious manifestation, because this is in an exact opposition. But this is such a powerful long-term transit, as we talked about, that, it's available for everybody to work with. So as the Aquarius planets start to move on into Pisces and join Pallas Athena and transiting North Node, Mercury will go into Pisces, Mercury will retrograde in Pisces, Venus will get there, the Sun will get there. We have a Pisces stellium. So as the month progresses, this mental energy that is very much consistent with your language. I guess I didn't mention that. We should talk about that real quick. So this massive amount of air energy is in a perfect alignment with your air placement. So all of that Aquarius stuff is just really speaking your language. But as the month moves on, it's going to more speak the language of emotion, and it's going to enter your house of health and pets and your daily routine. And with Mercury there, we're looking towards the past. So review, revision, breakdown of routines, health habits, your work systems, review, revision of pets, animals, returning to old health issues to resolve them for good, or returning to old health practices that really helped you. This is a slowing down process where you can rebuild your schedule around what works for your body. We were not taught this. I know that I wasn't. Generations of, after mine, we started to give opportunities there where we could actually pay attention to our body instead of having to sit at the table and eat every last bite before we were allowed to leave the table. There's a lot of different paradigms that are going on with restructuring the viewpoints about our bodies and our health and our wellness and our bodies speaking to us. So you may get some very good information directly from your body where you're starting to understand the messages, what that gurgle means, what that little zap means. Your body is always trying to talk to you, and you can become fluent in body language. This is something that I have focused very strongly on because I have fluency in a lot of different languages. Astrology is one of them, but different foreign languages has been a passion of mine for a long time. And I see a lot of things as languages that we might not really consider, but your body has a language and it has a dialect that's specific to you. So you can discover this at this time, and it's really exciting. So things that are gentle, gentle cleanses, gentle detox, gentle decluttering of your workspace, of your commitments, a reassessment of how you can use your mind and your body and your soul and your emotions and your needs in those arenas to build a beautiful daily experience, even if it's around a busy schedule. So those are the kind of questions you may be asking and the things that you might be doing. Okay, so if you want more from me, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com. Click on Unleash to grab your written star report. It's very detailed. I put a lot into that. It takes me hours to write this each month, and you can get yours for February. I do send it out a little bit before the month that it's for so that you have it for planning. And I gave you a bunch of dates in this report, but I'll give you more sweet and salty dates. Salty are the ones that don't get along as well, and sweet are the ones that do. And if you go to AnnieHelpsYou.com/astrology, you can also see my podcast and YouTube player. When you click Unleash at AnnieHelpsYou.com, you can also access early access to my content. If you want personalized reports by me for you about your outer planet journeys, these are long-term mega journeys, go to AnnieBClarity.com, and the letter B, clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology and you resonate with how I teach, click a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, enable notifications. And if you want an organized approach to learning, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. Since I'm condensing these reports into one mega video, it actually is giving me more time to do a little more content. So be looking out around weekly for the highlights that I think are most relevant for those time periods. So you will see several more videos come through and corresponding podcasts come through in February after these horoscopes are released. So bye for now. Scorpio friends, Annie Botticelli here with your Scorpio specific February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. Hopefully you've listened to the intro that I have earlier in this very mega video that laid groundwork that we're going to now go into more details about for Scorpio specific views. This is for you if Scorpio is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Scorpio placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. And late degree Scorpio friends, so birthdays like November 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Scorpio placements through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Sagittarius report, as you Scorpitarius friends will benefit from both readings. And since the Sagittarius specific report is right after this one, you can just listen straight through into it after this. Okay, so we've got a big month. We're going to go into the details. I've already given you the background of some very foundational things to know in the intro, and now we're going to go into more layers about these topics for Scorpio. So we start out the month, so I'm going in month order so that we can kind of progress through the month in an organized way, although mostly all of these factors we're going to talk about will be in effect for all month except that full moon, which is concentrated in the first week. Okay, so the full moon on February 1st at 13 degrees of Leo, you will feel that at the end of January starting to build. It really will be very strong even into a few days into February. So, the week, a few days before the first, a few days after, this will be very, very strong. And this is a fire moon. This is very dramatic. And Leo is the actor, the thespian, the person on stage. So this is, tends to be very, 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 very powerful and very, very outward flowing and very, very dramatic because Leo does actually rule drama. So just expect that building intention. And for your Scorpio placement specifically, this moon actually squares Scorpio. Okay. So this is at 13 degrees. So those of you whose birthdays are like the end of October, the first few days in November, you may see the most obvious outcomes from this, although any placement can see and use any of this, the stronger it connects in mathematically to your placement. And for those of you with the degrees, like 8 degrees to 18 degrees, the closer to 13 degrees, the more you may see this very obvious impact. So we talked about the implications of a full moon in Leo in the intro. So now let's talk about where this is going to be for Scorpio, which is the 10th house. So this fullness, this completion, this fruition, this drama, this elucidation, this coming out from the hidden realm into the known realm is going to be in your house of your work, your career, your employment, your job. If you are not employed and you want to be, opportunities could come here. If you are employed, you may be reaching some sort of culmination with something at work. This can bring some drama in the workplace. This can bring recognition in the workplace. For those of you who don't need jobs and for whom employment is not part of your experience, if you're retired or for other reasons don't have to work, this is still relating to your place out in the world. And for those of you with jobs, this can also relate to your place out in the world. So some sort of public situation. This could even be social media, although this isn't the standard house of social media. It is your place in the world, and there is an intersection there. So be very careful with the things that you post during this time. Be very careful with how confidently you bring something, because there could be quite a bit of backlash. And also, you could post something and it could be brilliant and be very much celebrated. So, the spectrum for all of this is there for better or worse. So just, think carefully. This also is historically the house of father or father figures, authority figures. We do see mom and mother figures come up here. Parental energy. So you as a parent or one of your parents may need help, may need support. There may be news or information that comes in, or something dramatic or something exciting. There could be an accomplishment of someone in your family that, is very robust. Since the moon expresses through our deepest emotions and our emotional state, you can do a very nice exploration of your emotional state as it relates to your place out in the world. You could do inner work around that. You could do intention setting around that, envisioning your perfect job. That's a really great way to work with this. You can also write a list of the things that you want to accomplish out in the world. That's a wonderful thing to do at full moon time. Promotions, raises, any of those things can definitely come through now. And if you have to make a request or take an action or change a job or put in for a promotion or a change, I'll jump ahead to this discussion about the Mercury retrograde, because until the 12th of February, we actually have clear stars. So contracts, making decisions, making big moves, something like that. You've got more clear energy for that in the first third or so of the month, because this energy will shift the 12th and after, where it will be more going back over old details, going back to things from the past. But if you're trying to do something brand new, launch a business, put in a resume for that job you've always wanted, and you haven't worked with them before, you haven't put in a resume before, it's brand new, you may want to use the energy towards the beginning of the month. Okay, so the next thing to know is that the solar eclipse at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius, that we talked about some of that in the intro. We'll talk about what that specifically looks like for Scorpio. And again, this is going to be in a square formation. So there is a lot of tension this month for Scorpios. Look at all of this energy. Pluto for the long term, for the shorter term, Estrella, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, and then also the solar eclipse on February 17th at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius. So all of this energy is in your home and family and housing. And since there is this polarity between the moon and the sun and the full moon and the solar eclipse, there's something in this tension of your place out in the world, your place in your inner world, your extroverted experience, your introverted experience, your family, your work, things like that. So there's a lot of stuff that will be needing to be attended to in your family, for better and worse. Just because this is a square doesn't mean great things can't happen. A lot of times there's pressure or tension or the birth of something. Maybe you're expecting a child. Maybe you're buying or selling a house. Maybe you're upgrading or doing something great to your home. So, but just expect to have a massive amount of focus on home and family and housing for so many different reasons this month. You'll have a lot of opportunities to heal family issues. You'll have a lot of opportunities to hole up and be with family and relatives. And you'll also have a lot of opportunity to have very important conversations that have to do with home and housing in the past, present, and future. This eclipse starts a new cycle that will go until 2028. The last time we had this eclipse cycle was 2017 to 2019. That's early 2017 to early 2019. And then prior to that, early 2008 to the end of 2009. So you can think about how your home, housing, family, work situation, changed in those years. What did you do? What went on? Were there new additions to the family? Were there exits from the family? Were there new jobs? Were there moving for a job? Many Scorpios may actually move for a work opportunity at this time. You may also be able to have conversations that needed to happen, and the tension of this square may make those a little bit awkward or a little bit hard to approach, but can yield the necessary results, like really just getting some things cleared up that have been on your mind, that have been weighing you down, that have been probably weighing family members down, and just clear the air and get a bunch of just negative energy out of the picture so that you can move forward. So this tension at the beginning of the month, and then as the month, really the whole month, the solar eclipse is happening, there are new beginnings in your home and family and housing situation. The way that eclipses work is they happen on the day they happen, so February 17th, and the days around there could be different depending on your time zone. But for 4 to 6 weeks before and after the eclipse points, we are in eclipse season. So news, information, ideas, opportunities, sometimes non-negotiable, maybe occurring from sometime in January on. And then we have another eclipse in March, which we'll talk about in March. So, really for a few months at this time, major changes are occurring. And this is a new eclipse cycle. So these are new elements that are coming up and will be in process for the next couple of years. So your home and work circumstances are going to start to shift tremendously from this time onward for a few years. And you will start to see the signs of what that may be coming here pretty soon, pretty soon from the time I'm recording this, which is December, so getting into January, you definitely will start to have insights into the kinds of things that may come. And if not, some of it may just come as a surprise and may come all of a sudden, because eclipses do tend to bring in surprises. They do tend to bring in trajectory shifts where you were going down a certain path and wow, now you're going in this direction. It can bring endings and beginnings and, often non-negotiable news, meaning you really can't control that it happened. You only may have say in what you're going to do with that information. Something else that is common around eclipse season is for glass to break. This is a personal observation that I have made over eclipse times when the tension in our energy fields, because the tensions in the sky, when the planets align, it increases their gravitational forces. And so Einstein hypothesized that time and space bend around objects of mass, which we know to be true now. And when the Earth and the Sun and the Moon get together, they act as if they are one bigger body, which bends time and space even more. So this is a very cool scientific proof of something that we tend to watch on the spiritual level and on the experiential level at eclipse time, is that time gets weird. Synchronicities get to be more. Time changes. Things you thought were going to happen in 5 years may happen now. Things you've been working on forever may completely work out now. So this is a very powerful month from that perspective, where time changes and the nature of how we experience time changes, and the non-linear experience of time really comes into focus. So be awake for the synchronicities to lead you through the changes that are happening now. Okay, so every 35 to 36 years, Saturn and Neptune get together somewhere. Every 500 to 600 years, or at least 500 to 600 years ago, Saturn and Neptune got together in Aries. But at 0 degrees of Aries, which is the first degree of the whole zodiac wheel, which is the point of individuation from the cosmic soup of Pisces coming into form at 0 degrees of Aries, it's at least been more than 5,000 years since that's happened. And it could be much longer than that, because I use more than 5,000 years as a marker, because that is the amount of time that we have a reliable ephemeris, which tracks the positions of the stars. So we know that it hasn't happened in that 5,000 years. So this is a very big event for humanity. I will do a separate report on this for the global implications of this. And I will post that closer to the 20th. But I wanted to, in this report, look at where this is going to happen specifically for Scorpio. And this is going to be in the 6th house. Okay, so this is happening in Aries. Saturn will have moved into Aries by that time. It will be in the 6th house, joining a massive amount of other energy in the 6th house, some of which is very long term. Chiron has been in Aries for a long time. Eris even longer. Part of fortune, that's changing quickly. Ceres is not there for very long. But now it's joining these other outer planets in Aries. So this is a new introduction with the themes of Saturn, which are discipline and consistency and practical, mundane, material decisions, combining with Neptune, the spiritual, the ethereal, the formless. This massive combination of the material and the ethereal, the intuitive and the logical, are combining in your space of the 6th house, which has to do with the things that you do every day, which for some people, that is actually their jobs. Okay, so for those of you, again, who have work and jobs, this is highlighting your daily experience, how you do your work every day. There could be a massive era change with how you do it and what you do. This also can have to do with pets and animals and your relationships with them. This also can have to do with your health. There's a massive amount of health focus for Scorpio in the long term, in the short term, that's accentuated. So it's going to be really important for you to use the understanding that Neptune is probably hiding some things. And Saturn wants to reveal some things, so that doing proper diagnostics or tuning into symptoms, anything that seems unresolved, that's some sort of pattern, your health is going to be a massive focus here, and redoing how you do your work and how you do your day-to-day experience is really what's happening here. So you have an opportunity to bring a little more magic into your daily experience while also bringing a little more structure into your daily experience. And you'll be moving forward with trying to balance leaving room for the unexpected, for the unknown, at the same time as having a structure and a system and a plan. From June 2025 through July 2026, you've got Jupiter in fellow water sign, continuing to move in a great configuration for Scorpio. This also is tending to this home, family, and housing. This is bringing long-term focus on home, family, and housing, which you also have for the short term because of all of these fast-moving planets, which you also have for the next 2 years because of the eclipse cycle. So this is a hot spot for Scorpio. But specifically, Jupiter's moving through your house of teaching and learning and publishing and long-distance travel and international business. So the opportunities to broaden your horizons are going to continue until the middle of 2026 from the perspective of Jupiter, and that is still occurring now. Okay, so I've given you some great important dates. Oh, actually, let's talk a little more about Mercury retrograde. Okay, so it's been 6 to 7 years since we've had a Mercury retrograde in Pisces. And we've got the 12th is the day that Mercury starts to go into its shadow period. And then we have the official Mercury retrograde on the 25th. The days around the 25th can be more chaotic. What to know about February 12th and after is, and let's do a comparison of before the 12th and after the 12th. Basically, from December 17th until February 12th, you were on the shore, able to put your boats afloat and send them out to sea far and wide because we had no personal planets retrograde. So this has been a time and will be a time until around the 12th of February to make your big decisions, to put big things into practice, to do your long-term planning. You'll have more clarity about the future and trying to make plans for your long-term plans or for your long-term strategy. But as the 12th comes around, now the tides start to shift and we start moving backwards. Okay, so that means anything you try to put out will likely come back to you quicker than expected. And for many things in life, that's perfect. You're experimenting with something, you're trying something on, it's meant to be short term, it's fun, it's low stakes, it doesn't matter. That's all perfect for after the 12th. Running a promo, just a fast thing. You're not going to have it going for a long time. Doing something that editing, updating, cleaning some things up, getting things off your lists, going back over things. So now you're going to be the earthworm, where you're going back over things instead of trying to launch new things. If you try to push things at this time, it will create frustration. The more you schedule yourself from the 12th on for things, the more you're going to be on the phone trying to reschedule them. The more you commit to plans after that point, the more you'll have to go through that whole thing of feeling like you're letting people down when something happens and you can't follow through. You'll also notice other people not being able to follow through with what they say they're going to do. So the best advice for that time is to write things in pencil, tell people you're not sure if you can make it, give them a soft yes or a maybe, and then be leaving yourself open for what I like to call last minute magic, which the retrogrades tend to bring in. Also not a bad idea to leave things as unscheduled as possible for this time, or have flexible scheduling for whatever you do schedule, because those eclipses may throw you some curveballs that you have to deal with. All right, I've given you a lot of dates. If you want my complete sweet and salty date list, go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash, and that will get you my February star report. Or you can look, whenever you're watching this, you can get whatever month up until then. And this will give you the details of the best dates of the month, the worst dates of the month, and how you can use them. If you want to see what's up for 2026 and beyond for your personal chart, I have personalized reports at anniebclarity.com, Annie the letter B, clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com to see my very comprehensive astrology certification course. I am posting weekly at this time. So besides this mega video, which is not in 12 different segments, as you know now, it's in one segment time-stamped. I also will have a lot of other reports that come around weekly, not on a certain day, but based on certain hot spots in the month. So you can go to anniehelpsyou.com/astrology to keep an eye on my podcast player and my YouTube player. And you can also subscribe to my channel. And if you click on Unleash at anniehelpsyou.com, you also will not miss anything that I post. So I hope you have a wonderful February, and I'll see you in the next report. Bye. Hello, Sagittarius friends. Annie Botticelli here with your Sagittarius February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. This is for you if Sagittarius is your sun sign, like me, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Sag placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Hopefully you have listened to the intro at the beginning of this mega video. If you haven't already, you may want to go back and do that because it will lay some foundation. This will be a standalone reading, but you will be missing some layers of info that you may really want to have because I covered that in the intro. But we're going to dive deeply into Sagittarius specific things here. And 3 of the 4 things we're going to talk about are outrageously positive for Sagittarius. So as a Sag with you, I'm super excited about this. So let's just jump into our list. Actually, before that, if you are a late degree Sagittarius, also like me, birthdays December 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Sag placements through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Capricorn report, as your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. And here in this format, of the mega video, it's super easy for you. Just keep listening after the Sagittarius segment, and then the Capricorn segment will come right on. All right, so what do we got going on here? Let's start out with this brilliant fire full moon, 13 degrees of Leo, right from the beginning of the month. You'll be feeling this in the last days of January through the first few days of February. There's going to be this peak moment around truth and purpose and teaching and publishing and some sort of belief that you're ready to stand behind, because this full moon in fellow fire sign is happening in our 9th house of Sagittarius. I do talk about what the moon in Leo can bring separately in the intro, so we're not going to cover that now. We're just going to talk about the house that it's in for Sagittarius, which is our own house of Sagittarius. So you may have a surge of confidence. You may have something that you know be validated by experience or some other proof. You can have some sort of realization about a worldview that has matured or that has come into its own. If you ever were thinking small, Sagittarius never do this, but you will definitely be thinking big and having a lot of support for that. And if you have been apologizing for thinking small, or thinking big rather, then this might be a time where you really, really step into your confidence in your big vision, because not everybody understands the level of ideas that Sagittariuses have, because we are looking at things from this perspective of being on the top of the mountain, where we can see this 360 view with our perspective. It's wider than many other people's view. And it's very inclusive to all of the things within our wide range of vision. So it's, it's definitely not always understood by everyone, but you might have a shining moment here. There may also be something important involving teaching or learning. If you are a teacher, many Sages are, something with one of your courses. If you have to make a launch of a course or your own school, doing it before February 12th when you're still in the open window. I'll get back to that as we talk more about Mercury retrograde, but from December 17th until February 12th, we've got a period free from personal planet retrogrades and their shadow periods. So if you do have to launch a course, to take something of great importance, maybe you'll get news about acceptance into a program, an international trip, learning a language, an international business move, some sort of big important thing. This moon may bring that, because here it is in the beginning of the month. We're still in that nice and clear period, and something with immigration even, or, something with a different country or people in a different country. Okay, some of the ways that you can use this energy are to claim authority, speak and teach and publish. And if you're trying to write a book, this is an amazing time for making headway on that. Committing to a direction that is very bold and very broad. Some things to watch out for is, big thing here, assuming everyone is ready for your truth just because you are, and overcommitting to an idea without checking the logistics. So you can be very much flying high at this time because of all of this Aquarius energy, which we'll get back to in a second here. But the stars are really speaking our language right now, and it's going to be really easy for us to get very worked up, especially earlier in the month before that Pisces. See, Mercury starts the month out in Aquarius. That flows well for us. As it gets into Pisces and then retrogrades in Pisces, things are going to shift, and we're going to get out of this, Sagittarius fire air party. So, it will be good to act early in the month because things are definitely going to change, become more introspective, become more inward, become more emotional, become very much focused on family as the month progresses, especially. But now is a time for your communication, your vision. Okay, so I could talk more about that because it's exciting. Oh, actually, yeah, one more thing I want to tell you. People between 8 and 18 degrees, the closer to 13 degrees, the more you may get a kiss from that full moon, even though everyone can get wonderful blessings from it. The closer it ties into your mathematical degree, the more you may see something notable from this. So that's going to be days towards the end of November and the beginning of December, who may get more of an obvious outcome from this. But like I said, it's really available for all of us. Okay, so the next thing, big thing, new series of eclipses starting Aquarius and Leo. The other eclipses, Pisces and Virgo, that are still in process from the end of 2024 into 2027. I talked about that some in January. I'll talk about it more in March because that's when we have that Virgo eclipse. But for now, I want to talk about the new Aquarius Leo eclipse cycle that's starting in here in 2026 and going into 2028. And these are in more favorable angles for us. Okay, so this is meaning that every 6 months as this energy bubbles up, it's in a language we can better understand. So think back to early 2000 or 2017 through early 2019. If you're old enough, think back further to early 2008 to the end of 2009. Those are the types of some things that happened then may come back around to happen now, particularly in the following areas. The energetic of groups and friendships, okay? Because Aquarius rules that. So in the short term, you're going to see a lot of focus on networks, friends, friendships, your community, because of all of these, mostly short term, all except Pluto, Aquarius placements. So in this month, you're having an extra focus with Estrella, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, in Aquarius, which rules the internet-based projects. Did you launch a business online at one of those times? Did you go deeper into something like that at those times? Did you write books? Did you start courses? Did you get educated in something important? Did you move to a different country? Did you, learn a different language? Think back to those times as it's relevant to those things. And those kind of things may come back. Now, if something bad happened at those times, it doesn't necessarily mean that something will happen again because the stars are different now than they were. These are themes that have to do with the house of Gemini, which is the third house, which the Aquarius energy is in, and the house of Sagittarius. It also has to do with Leo versus Aquarius, which has to do with your unique gifts as an individual versus the collective and how you're using your gifts to help others, your unique recognition, and also you within a group working as a member of a tribe, being on the same page, working on group projects. So there's like this storyline that's occurring, and you will see all of this happening. And you may see notable things happen even 4 to 6 weeks before February 17th, because eclipse season really starts 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes more, before the actual eclipse. So you may see some news come in that can be very important. Now, again, all of us can be very much profoundly affected with life-changing new directions from this time. But those of you who are in the late degree placements, so birthdays, basically the same people who I said to listen to the Capricorn report. So birthdays around December 15th through the rest of the sign. And the closer you are to the Capricorn placements, so like 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd even, if your birthdays are in there, you're going to have a direct, beautiful angle from this solar eclipse. Okay, so you may see things even more profoundly or more obviously if you're in that zone. Another mega thing happening, and this is really crazy. Every 35 to 36 years, Saturn and Neptune get together. That's a long cycle. That's a big deal. But it's been between 500 and 600 years since Saturn and Neptune got together in Aries. And it's been longer than 5,000 years, longer than we have ephemeris records. We don't even know how long it is. We just know it's longer than that because that's as far back as we can see. We have not had a 0 degree Saturn and Neptune conjunction. 0 degrees is a very critically important degree because it's the birth of the individual in the zodiac wheel, coming from the cosmic soup of Pisces, birthing into individuation into Aries. The 0 degree is the first degree of the whole zodiac wheel. So this is very, very significant for humanity. I'm going to be having a separate recording actually closer to February 20th when this is exact, but this is like something happening over a period of time. This is over a period of years that this energy is really combining, but we really will feel this strongly, specifically at this Aries point over the months around January, February, March, and they will dance in close proximity for a while, but it's very concentrated around this time. And if you notice, Aries is another fire sign. So we're being flanked by all of these aspects that are amazing for us. So when Saturn gets out of Pisces into Aries, joins Neptune, this will be in the 5th house of Leo for Sagittarius. And we are going to see some major things. So let's talk about this. Dreams, like 5th house dreams, which is the type of thing that is our passion, can feel like our purpose, brings us great joy. Great joy, like we are the sunflower rising up to the sun and all of our cells are lifting with joy. That which makes us feel that way is the kind of thing that is in the 5th house. So having Saturn, the builder, the materializer, and Neptune, the intuitive, the ethereal, combined together in fire sign of Aries in a trine for Sagittarius placements is amazing. Okay, so dreams become buildable. Inspiration of Neptune meets the discipline of Saturn. There can be a serious commitment to your creative passions, things that you do just because you like to do them. Maybe they'll be monetized, maybe they'll be done on a grand scale, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that there's some sort of commitment now that helps you to bring out your hidden talents, that helps you to develop the talents you know that you have. This can also have to do with romance, true love. This can have to do with children, having children if you're trying to have a baby. These all can definitely be fertility markers. And really just if you've been putting off doing things that bring you great joy, this could be a time when the inspiration meets the action to do something. So you may choose a creative, expressive path and commit to it long term at this time, and especially doing that in the earlier part of the month. So this is exact on the 20th, but you don't have to wait till the 20th to use this energy because you'll be feeling it. So you can use that nice open window at the beginning of the month, free from the personal planet retrogrades, to take something on, to treat joy like a responsibility even, not a luxury. That your soul needs this, that when it comes time for us to transition to the next plane out of these bodies, what will we wish we did? And then to start to do those things now. One thing to watch out for is burnout. This month is so conducive to our energy that we definitely can go in our Jupiterian excess mode. Jupiter until March 11th, but you may start to feel signs of it waking up, things that were dormant. If your inspiration started to fizzle towards the end of 2025, maybe because Jupiter went into retrograde. And if you watch this cycle, you will be amazed at what you see. When Jupiter goes in retrograde, a lot of our oomph, our excitement, our exuberance, our interest in things can go a little bit flat. And we might start to get worried about ourselves, like we've become people who are not interested in things anymore. But as soon as Jupiter is going to go direct, you will start feeling this, and this is a time where you will start noticing that this is starting to spark, even though it's not direct yet. And this aspect in particular can be part of that. Okay, let's see. Before I move on to the last segment, I want to say a couple more things about the eclipses. So look out for breaking glass. Hopefully this is in a safe way. I have seen through my observations that glass will often break during eclipse cycles, sometimes in threes. And to me, this is a good sign. It's protective because we have tension building from the tension building in the stars. And this is a real thing. This isn't just an idea. Okay, so Einstein hypothesized that time and space would bend around gravitational or objects of mass, basically, which is why when we leave the Earth's atmosphere, time changes. We have our own time on this planet because Einstein was right. Time and space bends around the orb of that gravitational field. When the sun and the moon and the Earth align, they act as if they're one gigantic gravitational field, which changes how time and space bend, which is why we are going to start to, really January, February, March, even into April, time gets really weird. Trying to hold to this idea of a linear time movement is going to be harder because in truth, time is really not linear. There's, on one level it is, but on many other levels it isn't, so this tension in the planetary fields, we feel that on Earth. I mean, astronomy is the study of the planetary movements. Astrology is the study of the effects on humans from the planetary movements. And from watching this, we notice things get weird at eclipse time. Things that seem like they would take forever, years, maybe 20 years from now, all of a sudden happen. Things we've been working on for 20 years, all of a sudden can happen. Time and space bend weirdly and synchronicities happen and portals open to different levels of consciousness, and just expect all of it because it will definitely be weird. But you can use this to let old mental scripts die. You can begin a new story in a magical way. You can, do your inner work to really get ancestral and other family patterns that have not been serving you out of the picture and build new ones for your ancestors moving forward and for all humanity. It's a very, very powerful and exciting time. Okay, so one other piece about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, I will have a separate video about that closer to the time, but all of us, everyone in the zodiac can be positively affected by this. The Aries and Leo placements have special angles, the Sagittarius and Leo placements have special angles because of this Aries connection. And anyone who is early in Sagittarius, so that's going to be our Scorpitarius friends, birthdays like November 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, like in there, you all may notice an even more boost from this because this will be directly trining your exact placement. But don't worry, everyone else, we're still in the zone for having effects. The last thing to talk about is the thing that is not as fun is this water retrograde. Okay. Now what's positive about it is that it can bring quiet inspiration and creative flow, which we love. It can bring quiet, ethereal connections with our guides, with spirit. That's beautiful. It can bring, quiet personal pursuits, introverted projects where we're just kind of in our own space healing in a little cocoon. It can bring close connections with others, romantic connections. It can bring, spiritual connections, and that's all beautiful. But we do have to remember it is water and we are fire. Sometimes, especially in times like this when so much fire is going on, maybe we need a little bit of water to put out some of the fires. So in that way, it can be a break. But there will be some elements of heavy emotion taking our fire down, like putting out our fire. And there will be some things happening in home and family that will require emotional contact. And like I said, some of this can be good. Some of this can be a blessing. Some of this can be amazing and bring wonderful memories. And some of it may be tough emotional times that have to be dealt with, involving family and housing and homes in your inner world. So just kind of be prepared as the month goes on and we enter Pisces season, and all of these Aquarius placements in the air that speaks our language of air and fire being in synastry, all of that's going to move into Pisces as the month progresses, and we are going to get into a very internal, introspective, emotional time, and you will watch that progress as the month progresses. So I have given you many dates. If you want more dates, all my sweet and salty list, the best and the worst dates of the month, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, click on Unleash. When you get the welcome letter, it will have instructions on where to find this, which I always send out early. You can look for the February report in the archives. If you want to see my take on your 2026 and beyond, go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com. If part of your excitement and learning and ninth house eclipse and full moon activity has to do with you wanting to learn astrology and you resonate with how I teach, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, and see my astrology certification course. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you in the next report. I have been posting around weekly, so you can go to AnnieHelpsYou.com/astrology to keep an eye on my podcast and my YouTube channel. Also, when you go to Unleash at AnnieHelpsYou.com, you won't miss anything that I send you. So if you're interested in that, you can also subscribe to wherever you're listening. Okay, I'll see you in the next report. Bye. Hello, Capricorn friends. Welcome to my Capricorn February 2026 Astrology Horoscope Forecast. This is the next layer beyond the initial intro. I am not going to give any of the info that I talked about in the intro here, so this will be all new info. However, if you have not listened to that segment, you may want to, because it lays a foundation for what we're going to discuss for this Capricorn specific layer. But at the same time, what I'm going to talk about here will be a standalone report, but it's better to go back and listen to the first part so you don't miss anything. This is for you if Capricorn is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Capricorn placement you're listening for. What we're going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Cap friends, so birthdays like January 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree placements through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Aquarius report, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. And in this format where I have it time-stamped, you can just listen to the next segment because it will follow this one here. So it'll be really easy. You can just stay tuned. All right, so we're going to talk about these four main points as they specifically relate to Capricorn. Let's start out right at the beginning of the month and go in order, although some of these, actually all the rest of the things we're going to discuss, you will feel really throughout most of the month, if not all. So the only thing that is a very small period of time is this full moon at 13 degrees of Leo, February 1st. You'll feel it at the end of January. You'll feel it in the beginning several days of February, and some sort of culmination around shared money, debts and taxes or inheritances or emotional entanglements, something having to do with power dynamics, something hidden coming into the open financially or emotionally at this full moon. In the intro, I talked about what a full moon in Leo could look like. Now we're specifically talking about what a full moon in Leo in the 8th house can look like, because that's where it will be for Cap. A way to use this full moon that is wonderful and very much aligned with the natural rhythms is to have honest conversations that you've been avoiding about money and deep emotional exchange. You can close out a financial obligation. Maybe you're paying something off, or you can renegotiate terms. You can get a loan if you need it. And for new ventures, through February 12th has special energy for new ventures. From December 17th through February 12th is especially blessed for new ventures. February 12th and afterwards is even better for going back over things, reconsidering things, researching things, redoing things that had been done in the past. But you've got a lot of energy for brand new commitments. Also earlier in the month here, before the 12th, it may be better to do some long-term things if you have to put together a will, or if you have to update a will, or do something important for legacy or paperwork, or if you have to start a lawsuit. The earlier part of the month even has better energy if you're doing it for the first time. This is an amazing time to reclaim power. And by stepping out of the power dynamic, the back and forth, the victim tyrant, you may be able to get to a new level of whatever is the issue in this arena for you. But it is a very big money moon, and you may see money come out of nowhere, or some sort of very notable financial situation may occur. Something that you may see could turn out to be struggles or ultimatums. You don't have to consciously use it for a power struggle to have it come to you. Pride can override practicality. Emotional intensity can spill into financial decisions. So, you may want a cooling off period if you have to make a big decision, if there's high emotion. Okay, so the next thing is we've got February 17th, we have a solar eclipse at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius. This is a new eclipse cycle that will be running concurrently with the Virgo Pisces eclipse cycle that we started at the end of 2024 and will go to 2027. March will have that Virgo eclipse as a participant of that, or representative of that Virgo eclipse cycle. And that is still in process now. And I did talk about that more in the January reports. I will talk about it in more detail in the March report. That's when that eclipse is. The eclipse season started in January, so you may see information, drama, experiences come in from this new eclipse cycle, which has to do with Aquarius, which is community, internet-based projects, networks, teams, seeing yourself as a member of a greater force. So all of that, versus Leo, which is your individual uniqueness, which is your individual passions, you as an individual, rather than you as a member of a group. But both of those are going to be coming up very strongly here in the short term, besides setting the pace for the next 2 years of this eclipse cycle that runs into 2028. Pluto is now in Aquarius long term. This is bringing basically a power generating plant to your finances until 2045. But in the short term, we have Estrella, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Aquarius, plus that solar eclipse on the 17th in Aquarius. And all of this is your financial money placement. So if I were going to have a Capricorn specific title this month, it would definitely be mega money something, because you've got the full moon in your other people's money sector, and you've got all of these transits plus the solar eclipse beginning. So in your individual finances, the second house, your money, your earned income, your material possessions, the things that you own, how you use money, your values, and your value as a person working and earning money, if you are in that situation. So over the next couple of years, you will have a lot of karmic clearing in your belief systems with this polarity of Aquarius versus Leo and this polarity of Taurus versus Scorpio. Those are the houses that the Leo Aquarius eclipses occur for Capricorn. And you'll be seeing a lot of shuffling around of money, merging money, individualizing money back and forth over the next couple of years. You can think back to 2017 to 2019 when we had this eclipse last time. You can also think back to 2008 to 2009 when we had the eclipse the time before, that cycle the time before, and think about those arenas of finances, of loans, of debt, of credit, of income, and how those types of relationships with others changed dramatically at that time. If something bad or difficult happened in those time frames, that doesn't necessarily mean that same thing's going to happen again. It just means that the themes about the money are going to be part of this storyline. So you can look for a reset around income and self-worth and pricing and personal resources. It could be a time to ask for raises. If you're trying to start a business, you've got amazing energy between December 17th and February 12th for new businesses that you want to be long-term. If it's a short-term or interim business, that could be retrograde, fine for the retrogrades. I definitely, have seen businesses that needed to be short-term that were kind of bridging something be fine to start during the retrograde energy, which begins on the 12th. But if you're trying to have it be very long-term, you may want to capture that energy toward the beginning of the month. But the eclipse time is over, January, February, March. So during this time, you're going to be releasing these outdated financial identities, undercharging, overworking, scarcity thinking. You will be planting seeds for current and future income that's aligned with your actual skills and values. You may be expanding your skills so that you can earn more. Some things to watch out for is watch out for the drastic money moves. While this may be a time that is called for, the days around the actual eclipse are always kind of a little bit sketchy to do anything important unless it's out of your hands. Sometimes it's better to give a little bit of a few days in either direction of the 17th if it's in your hands. If it's not in your hands, then you can't do anything about it. This could be a great time to simplify your finances, and any clarity or direction or seeds that you plant now can compound over the next 2 years. Something that is going to be coming up is your safe zone versus your unsafe zone. Risk, calculated risk versus just trying to stay safe. So that will be another pattern that you will see where you will be stretching out of your comfort zone, or if you've been out of your comfort zone for a long time, you may be establishing more of a comfort zone. So the story of risk versus reward versus calculated risk, security versus, other kinds of risk, because sometimes, let's say an income at a job that's safe can give you that security, but then there's the risk of devoting your life to that and then missing out on the rest of your life, and vice versa. Sometimes someone may not commit to a job and then they're missing out on the security that they would get. So the story of either of those ends of that polarity will be coming up. Okay, so every 35 to 36 years, Saturn and Neptune get together in the sky. That's a long transit, but it's not nearly as big a deal as the last time we had a Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries was between 500 and 600 years ago. And then when we look at this very important point of 0 degrees of Aries, which is the first point of the zodiac, it's the point of individuation out of the cosmic soup of Pisces, where the astrology wheel begins and then swirls around to the end of Pisces and then individuates again at 0 degrees of Aries. This is a very important point of new beginnings, new eras. I will make a report specifically for this from a global implication standpoint and post it closer to the 20th. But for the months around this time and after, before, during, and after, this energy is really, really brewing, and it's very, very important. And I wanted to focus on what you may see from this specifically as a Capricorn. Okay, so this is going to be in Aries. This is going to be in a square formation for Capricorn, making it a very, very dramatic new birth, some matrix that you are getting to crack out of. And so what the likely included in the epic implications that will occur from this are some restructuring of home and family, your emotional foundations, your inner security, your inner world, long-term healing around ancestral patterns and early conditioning. You're definitely building a new base of internal strength, maybe not inherited, but chosen. And if you are fortunate enough to have inherited through nature or nurture a very calm, solid base within your family, you may be expanding that. Some really great ways to use this are to create this emotional structure, this physical structure that supports who you're becoming. This is a very delicate, internal, private type of energy. And Capricorns are going to be asking the question, what do you need to feel secure? What do you need to get your home, family, housing situated? And what new beginning and new way of doing things are you going to open up to as Saturn and Neptune make this epic conjunction in this space, bringing in a whole new era. Something else you're going to be doing is redefining what home and safety actually mean to you and getting clear on that. Some things you may look at, getting your information off the internet. There are ways to do that. Getting, your privacy in order, things in your private and sacred space becoming less revealed, different relationships with social media or other ways that you share that personal space. This Saturn is the commitment part, and Neptune is the emotional part. Saturn is the discipline. Neptune is the inspiration. Neptune is the ethereal. Saturn is the material. And they're working in tandem. These forces that are seemingly opposing are working in tandem to combine all of this energy to revise your inner world. A lot of this may have to do with softening boundaries where they were too harsh, Neptune, adding boundaries where they were not strong enough, Saturn. And so you're going through this reevaluation process. It also can have to do with what home is to you, whether it's an actual structure or not, and the people who are home, or even the location. You may find a location that feels like home to you, that you've been seeking, looking, longing for. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about has to do with Mercury retrograde. So as I was saying, between December 17th and February 12th, we have this wonderful open period. If you follow my tidal analogies, the tides are going out. You are free until that date to be putting all of your boats out to sea, your little messages in a bottle, you on the shore, using the tide going out in your favor to make your long-term decisions, your big plans, your strategy and contracts and, important things. Then we have a hybrid month now. Around the 12th, you will start to feel the tide starting to come in, which means things you toss out on them may show up back by your feet sooner than you expected them. This could be great for experimentation or editing or tying up loose ends, things that you work on just automatically are just kind of done, revisions and such. But if you've been stuck in a habit now from the planet or the energies going out and you've been making things happen, if you continue trying to make things happen as the tides turn, you will experience frustration. I remember one time many years ago when I was in a process where I was writing mini books, and I had written almost a whole book. I was so inspired. I was so excited. I started to have the flow decrease a bit because when Mercury went into retrograde, and I did not really understand Mercury retrograde the way that I do now, or the things I did understand because I have Aries rising and I'm a Sagittarius, I did it anyway. And what wound up happening is the entire thing got deleted. I don't know what happened. Something happened in the computer. And from then on, I realized, okay, this is what it feels like to be pushing through something when the energy is coming back to me. I'm trying to push it out. It's coming back to me. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use Mercury retrograde to write. And in fact, it is an amazing time to write or journal or study. But the difference here is you will feel it. It's no longer going with the flow. It's going against the flow. When the tides are going out, you've got more wiggle room to kind of try to push things along. But when the energy turns in, it can be very frustrating, very stressful, very unproductive, with kind of higher consequences if you're trying to push it. So just kind of tune into that and train yourself to start to feel it. You'll notice it in the things going around. You'll notice it in the conversations that you have. You'll notice it in the interactions you have with other people and with life. The tides are turning in, and it's time to become the spider that hangs out in the webs that you made during the December 17th through February 12th time. Now you're just going to hang out in the web, and you're going to wait for the food to come to you. And sometimes the food that comes to you needs to be dealt with. Something has to happen with it, or sometimes it'll be fed directly to you. But either way, you are in waiting mode. Wait and respond rather than making things happen. So if you can just learn that one very important thing, it will completely change your life. And that important shift is happening this month. So Mercury will go retrograde, and then it will spend the time in Pisces, retrograde there, And for Capricorn, that's going to accentuate the third house. Okay, so let's talk about this. The third house rules Gemini, and Mercury rules Gemini, and Mercury is in retrograde. So this is very much related to mercurial energy times 2. So you have to be extra careful of mixed signals and miscommunications and emotional undertones in conversations. Old discussions resurfacing, especially with neighbors or siblings or relatives. This is a kind of is a catch-all for a lot of the relatives in your life, cousins, aunts, uncles, etc. This can bring back writing or other editing projects or other projects that you get to revisit. Contracts can be revisited. There's a lot of a need to listen between the lines, and what's unsaid may matter more than what's said at this time. If someone commits to something during the retrograde time, there's a very increased chance that they're not going to be able to follow it through. So it lends itself to shorter term commitments, like a bridge commitment, like, okay, we'll do this for a month or 2 months and then we'll revisit, or something with a lot of flexibility. If what you're committing to is short term, low stakes, or very flexible, then it's fine. It's fine to move along with those commitments. Those are some of the keys. And I talk more about this in my book, Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. But I'll just give you some key tips now. Making decisions in Mercury retrograde that are low stakes doesn't matter. Unless it's a big deal or hard to reverse, it doesn't matter. Just do whatever, right? But if it is, you have to tune in. If it's not flexible, you have to reconsider. If it is flexible, it's fine. And those are 2 main rules there. Okay, so it's a good time to assume that other people may not understand you as well as you think they do. It's a good time to assume that you're not understanding what people are meaning. And it's a good time to assume that you're going to have a lot of mental overload, and that it might not be the best time to move forward. So if you can put it off, then that might be better. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of dates, and so it's February 25th that it officially goes retrograde, after the 12th starting the pre-shadow transit. If you want my complete list of sweet and salty dates, so the best and the worst of the month and what to do with them, go to anniehelpsyou.com and grab your free star report by clicking on Unleash. And there will be instructions in the welcome letter on how to access that report. If you want my perspective on your 2026 and beyond from the perspective of outer planets, go to Annie B. Clarity, Annie, the letter B, clarity.com, and get your outer planet transit report, the video package. And if you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, and see my astrology certification course. If you think I put a lot into my public free readings, then you should see what I put into this course. So if you really want to learn astrology for your own personal purposes or to do it professionally, I can help you there at beastropro.com. All right, so friends who are going to listen to the Aquarius report, that is forthcoming now, and the rest of you I will see in the next report. I am posting almost weekly now, not on a certain day, but hitting some highlights during the week. You can go to anniehelpsyou.com/astrology to find my podcast and YouTube playlist, and so you can keep track of the reports I have ahead. I'll see you in the next report. Bye. Hello Aquarius friends, Annie Botticelli here with your Aquarius February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. In this section of my mega video, we'll go into just Aquarius layers of this month. If you didn't already listen to the intro at the beginning of this video, I suggest you do that because there are things I'm not going to mention here that are going to be relevant for your month that are talked about in the introduction. This is for you if Aquarius is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Aquarius placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Aquarius friends, so birthdays like February 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree placements of Aquarius through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Pisces report, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, so we're going to go over these 4 main points as they relate specifically to the Aquarius view. This is a very, very, very big time for Aquarius. Not only are we in your birthday month, so this solar cycle that's rebuilding, which also is putting all of these planets, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Vesta, Mars, Estrella, short term in the sign of Aquarius, joining long-term Pluto in Aquarius. Very, very, very big Aquarius showing right now. Stars are definitely speaking your language with a massive amount of intensity. But add to that picture on February 17th, we also have the solar eclipse at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius. And this is kicking off a 2-year cycle between now into 2028 of Aquarius Leo eclipses that are going to completely revamp your whole life. Major trajectory shifts, major relationship changes, and we are really, really stepping into a very, very big life-changing sequence of events for Aquarius. So you can see all of this is going on. Even that full moon is in your opposing sign, in the same polarity as this new eclipse cycle has been awakened. So this is a very, very, very big month, besides the fact that this very rare Saturn and Neptune conjunct at the 1st degree of Aries, we'll get into that too, but just kind of right here at the beginning, summarizing what a mega month this is, with a lot of it specifically being focused on Aquarius. So let's just take it piece by piece here. I'm going to break it down. We'll start with the moon because we're going to go in order of the dates, although some of these dates will encompass a longer period of time. February 1st, so you'll feel it the last days of January. You'll feel it the first few days of February. Expect a peak moment in relationships. This is what's going on. In the intro, I explained what you can see from a full moon in Leo. And now we're going to look into the piece of the house that it's in for Aquarius, which is the 7th house of relationships. So these peak moments in collaborations, clients, contracts, your relationships, someone can be mirroring back exactly how you've been showing up, or an unconscious part of yourself. Some major truth can land at this time about balance, independence, partnerships. And this story of me versus we, as I always like to call this polarity, is going to be super strong this month, but also opening up a new level of change within your relationship to yourself and within your relationship to relationship, plus your key relationships over the next couple of years. And this full moon is sort of bringing to the open some hidden things that are going to set you on this path of seeing how this trajectory is going to go. You can use this moon to clarify roles and expectations within your relationships, both personal and work. You can use it to set boundaries in your one-on-one dynamics. You can let yourself be seen. This is, this sort of a very outward moon, being in Leo, very fiery like this, also being 180 degrees from your placement. It's really putting you in the front seat, while at the same time a relationship is in the front seat, and you're trying to find the balance between these two things. You may find that there are dramatic standoffs during this time. You may be either projecting your unmet needs onto others, or they may be doing that to you. You may also be evaluating decisions based on freedom. Freedom, honesty, both key words that are happening at this time. And this is going to be an electrifying moon, which I will do a separate report about just that moon as it gets closer to the time. But just know it's sort of a doozy, and something big is probably going to be revealed at this time. It could be an awareness, or it could be something else that you did not know, that someone else was not telling you. All right, so happy birthday to you Aquarius friends who are going to have your birthdays within this time, which really is all of you, because I'm posting this right when the sun is moving into Aquarius. So birthday time is a chance where we can figure out what you want moving forward and use your birthday wishes to accentuate that forward movement. For those of you who are listening for an Aquarius placement other than your sun, you still have at this point of rebirth, because it's still flooding the first house of rebirth and your physical body and your identity and how you're putting yourself out into the world, out in front and center. So you've got all of these different layers of all of these Aquarius placements bringing up the topic of community, of friendship, of networking, all as it relates to you, your identity, what you're trying to put forth, what you're trying to get going, what you're trying to expand. And so help from others is invaluable at this time, and you're trying to find your way into interdependence rather than codependency, rather than too much independence, rather than too much, focus on others. There's some sort of balance that is arising where you can get what you need from your social spheres, where you can get what you need from your relationships, and where you can figure out more of what you need so that others can give that to you. This is also a very big time of social media topics. This is a big time of evaluating your relationship in these spaces. And if you're trying to make a launch in one of these areas, Until February 12th, we have a lot of good forward moving energy where the tides are going out. From December 17th until February 12th, we have no personal planet retrogrades nor their shadow periods. So if you've got to launch something, a new business, a new site, something brand new that you want to carry for a long time into the future, the tides will turn around around February 12th. But until then, the tides are flowing out. Okay, we'll talk about that more as we get to the Mercury retrograde, but I will dance around this important topic as the discussion goes on, as I see it relevant. Okay, so let's talk about this solar eclipse now. The solar eclipse that will start now, go through 2028. The last time we had this Aquarius Leo eclipse cycle was 2017 through 2019. Prior to that, it was the beginning of 2008 to the end of 2009. So you can think back to those times and look at what happened in your relationship space. What happened in relationship to your communities or your friendships or your social circles? What happened regarding internet things? What happened regarding close personal relationships, your health, your relationship with yourself? The same things that happened then might not happen again. And if there were terrible things that happened then, it doesn't mean that they will happen now, because the stars are different than they were then. What is the same, though, is something about this evaluation of Leo, your unique gifts, versus Aquarius, yourself as part of a member of a group. Your relationships and yourself. Those things are going to be coming up. So you can expect a full identity reset every 6 months over the next 2 years. You're going to have an opportunity to shed what no longer resonates with you. Old versions of you can either quietly or very loudly dissolve. Labels and roles, appearances, your tone, how you are, what you're interested in. This is a very, very personal eclipse, and the world is going to respond differently because you are changing. So you can release the need to define yourself. You can release your need to have others approve of what you're doing. In general, Aquariuses tend to be very free of this compared to many of the other zodiac placements, because they're very much free thinkers. And if you are believing something or feeling a certain way, you don't always need everyone to agree with you. But if there is a part of you where that's not true, you may be able to find a perfect balance between finding the support of people whose opinions you do care about and a discernment process of getting on the same page with people whose opinions you value and letting everything else fall by the wayside. You can definitely let your actions speak very loudly. This is a very action-oriented time because all of these Aquarius placements are flooding your Aries house, which is all about action. And especially for the first 12 days of the month, there's a lot of good energy for permanent long-term type of action. You can begin something now that really represents who you're becoming, not necessarily who you've been. If you want to have a different identity, if you want to be known as a different, doing different things, then this is a fabulous time and a wonderful cycle for being able to do that. This cycle reminds me of when I moved to a spiritual community a couple of cycles back. I did that, and at the time I was a real estate investor, and I was also an astrologer, but I wasn't known very much for that at that time. People where I was from knew me sort of as a business person, an entrepreneur who was into alternative types of healing as a hobby. At that time, I moved to a spiritual community where I defined myself as being a person to help other people with astrology and other resources, and I became known as an astrologer, kind of in a big way, as you see has happened. So now there are very few people compared to the amount of people who know me as an astrologer who remember me as a real estate investor. And this is the type of identity change that you may be going through. You may be embarking on a very drastic life change that feels very much in line with your purpose and your reason for being here and what makes you feel excited about life. So from the short-term energies, you can also expect a heightened visibility and mental activity, a lot of networking and interacting, social interactions with people, an increase in invitations and ideas and conversations and feedback. You might have this sense of feeling like you're on display, whether you ask to be or not. This is definitely a time when people have answers for your personal plights that you can reach out and find those people. So it's also could be a very, very big time of nervous system overload. As I've talked about many times, when we get to eclipse time, and the eclipse is happening on February 17th, but the eclipse cycle really gets strong 4 to 6 weeks before, even sometimes more. So January, February, March, even into April, we are in this eclipse season where the energetics of the sky have the united energies of 3 heavenly bodies, the sun, the moon, and the earth. And when they do that, their gravitational fields combine, and time and space bend around objects of mass, which is what Einstein hypothesized, and it was later proven to be true. Which is why the Earth and other planets have their own time field, because time and space is bending around that object of mass. So when the Earth and the Sun and the Moon get together, their gravitational field expands, which expands or changes the way time and space is bending. It's really quite literal. And you will feel that at this time. Timelines can shorten. Things you thought you weren't going to get to do for 10 years can happen now. Things that you've been trying to do for a long time that weren't gelling can gel now. And this is going to be a very kind of freaky, weird, synchronistic, deja vu, weird alignment type of time. You'll feel it. It's going to be very intense. And your nervous system will very likely be overloaded. You may feel like your finger is stuck in an electric socket. Your Uranus, which rules Aquarius, also rules lightning and electric. And so there's a lot of electrical overload now. So whatever you can do to stay calm, stay grounded, get your feet in the earth. I realize that many places in the world are kind of cold right now, but just, even putting your head up to a tree, this is not just a woo-woo thing. This literally, trees hold an energy field that we can match by connecting our energy fields. And electromagnetic fields around us are a known truth. This isn't something just metaphysical. So you can clear and ground your energy field by being in nature. Much science has proven the very tangible physiological markers that change from time in nature. So you may be able to really set some things straight by getting some time outside, getting some time by some trees, regardless of what the temperature is where you are. Okay, so we could talk about this a lot, but just wanted to talk about it enough so that you know what to expect. But we're also having, on February 20th, this crazy combination of Saturn and Neptune coming together at the same degree in the sky. This happens every 35 to 36 years, so that's kind of a big deal, but not as big of a deal as the fact that the last time Saturn and Neptune got together in Aries was 500 or 600 years ago, like 550 years ago. And we don't even know the last time that Saturn and Neptune were conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries, which is the first degree of the zodiac wheel, which has a lot of implications for humanity, which I'll make a separate video about and post closer to the time. But this is the beginning of a new era. This is, of the 360 degrees in the track across the sky that the planets take. 0 degrees is the first of the zodiac wheel, and it's very, 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 very critical, very, very important, and very, very tending to lend itself to very, very new beginnings of a new era. So I'll talk about the implications globally in the video that I'll post closer to the time, but in this report I want to talk about what this looks like specifically for Aquarius placements. Okay, so this is going to be in Aries, this is going to be in the 3rd house. So the epic implications that you can look for have to do with your voice. The 3rd house is your expression, it's your communication, it's the way that you travel, it's your transportation, it's your mobility. But your voice is going to have this combination of this dual effect. And this is what we're looking at here. We're looking at Saturn, the ruler of discipline, working in tandem with Neptune, the ruler of spirituality. So the ethereal meets the material. The chaos meets form. The inspiration meets the tangible plane. So you're combining intuition with the practical and the logical. And this is relating to your voice and your expression, whether it's writing or speaking or how you communicate with others. So this is a beautiful hemispheric balance. On the topic of Einstein again, when they researched his brain, they found that something that was exceptional about it was that he had a very well-developed corpus callosum, which is the area that bridges the right and left hemisphere. So it's not that he was in any much more in his left or right brain, but it was the combined efforts of his left and right brain that made him tap into intuition and genius and follow things through with these ideas into form and the relevance into form. And so this type of aspect, when these two sides of the brain are really much represented here, are helping you tap into that for yourself. So this is a pretty big era change in how you express with the world, and also how you express to the lesser seen world. You know, if you are feeling connected to spirit, divine, angels, people who've passed, quiet or unseen inspiration, or the quiet mathematical predictable language of the universe that speaks in signs and synchronicity and predictable patterns. All of this is going to be coming up in a big way. Okay, so as the month progresses, once it's February 12th, now the tides are going to start coming in. So everything that you try to put out on the tides, it will go like a beach ball right back to the shore. And so that is an energy that you can take with you to understand the month. So if you've been in this mode of pushing things and forcing them and making them happen, as is somewhat appropriate if that's in your flow, December 17th through February 12th, you know, really just taking the bull by the horns, pushing through obstacles, now is going to be time for you to adjust your interface. Because if you keep that level of forward-moving energy up, you will have the inevitable conclusion of frustration, because trying to push things out on tides coming in are going to be very frustrating, very unproductive, very stressful. So short-term ventures, dealing with the things that come to you, put oil on the squeaky wheels. The things you're supposed to be focusing on will make themselves apparent. You may have a little bit less say in how you direct your energy during this time, because it's more focused on the here and now, not the long term. It's more focused on what is presenting that needs attention, rather than you being able to expand beyond this moment in time. But you will also notice from the eclipses that this idea of time as a linear construct, while on some level it is real, on other levels time is not linear, and you will notice that as a very strong overtone this month. So Mercury retrograde in Pisces is going to bring a reassessment of money and pricing and possessions, because the retrograde is going to happen in your second house of finances. So things from the past, old financial habits, beliefs may resurface. Confusion about money or income. Money that was clear and predictable becoming not so sure or getting called into question. This is a fantastic time to review budgets, things that you pay money for every month, income streams. It's a great time to reflect on whether your work is truly reflecting the value that you feel that it has. It's a great time, especially earlier in the month, to ask for raises or to reconsider, a plan about that as the month progresses. There's also a renegotiation going on rather than an initiation, whereas, in the earlier part of the month, initiating things was well indicated. Now it's sort of like going back over things that have already been discussed. So definitely use the energy to work out financial consciousness issues, reconsider impulse buying or spending that's driven by emotion, and to make financial decisions that really support the direction you're trying to go with your finances. And if you have to make a big financial decision, the time in the earlier part of the month might be better, because it will be more clear. So I've given you a lot of dates. If you want my full list of sweet and salty dates, grab my free Sweet and Salty Star Report at AnnieHelpsYou.com. Click on Unleash, where I go into the best, the worst, the ugly, and everything you need to know about the aspects of the month. If you want to see my take on the outer planets for you, 2026 and beyond, go to AnnieBClarity.com, Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com, to get my outer planet personalized report series of videos. If you want to learn astrology, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, and see my very, very comprehensive and productive astrology certification course. Whether you want to do astrology to help yourself and your friends and family, or to do it professionally and earn money as an astrologer, I can help you at beastropro.com, beastropro.com. If you're in the zone of the February 15th and beyond birthdays, and you want to listen to the Pisces report because your late degree friends will benefit from both readings, you can just continue listening and that Pisces report will come up next. For the rest of you, look out for weekly posts, not always on the same day, but I'm putting this in this format where this is one mega video rather than 12 different videos is giving me a little more time to post some additional content. So you can look for that on my Spotify, YouTube. AnnieHelpsYou.com/astrology also has my podcast viewer and my YouTube viewer. I'll see you in the next report. Bye. Hello, Pisces friends. Annie Botticelli here with your Pisces February 2026 astrology horoscope forecast. Hopefully by the time you're getting to this point in the time stamp, you've already listened to the intro because that will lay a valuable foundation with information that I'm not going to repeat. What I'm going to talk about in this Pisces specific focus is to layer on top of that foundation for some Pisces specific views. This is for you if Pisces is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Pisces placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Pisces friends, so birthdays like March 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree Pisces placements through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Aries report, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. And in this format where I have one mega video that's time-stamped, it's much easier for you late degree friends to just go back to the early part of the timestamp for Aries and listen here in one video without having to find a separate video. Okay, so we're going to go through the main talking points that I spoke about in the introduction, except instead of speaking about these general things, I'm going to speak about them in relation to your placement. Okay, so this is going to be Pisces specific. So we talked about what the full moon in Leo could bring in the intro. Now let's talk about where in the chart for Pisces that full moon will be. So February 1st is the full moon at 13 degrees of Leo. You'll feel that in the last days of January and the first few days of February very strongly. It's going to be in the Pisces 6th house. So what you can expect is a culmination around something involving work, your daily experience, your office dynamics, your health, your routines, your daily responsibilities, your pets, and your systems that are at the center of your life or lack thereof. So fullness, completion, fruition, drama, coming to a head for better or worse. This is a bit of an awkward angle for Leo, and fire doesn't always speak the language of Pisces, right? Because this is fire energy, not a water language. Of course, you can have many different parts of your being, and maybe some of your parts of your being respond better with this. Speaking strictly from the Pisces standpoint, this is a little bit intense for sensitive Pisces placements. So, and it's very dramatic. Leo energy is very dramatic. So something is going on here for better or worse in your day-to-day experience. Something happens to a coworker. Your pet needs extra attention. You find your forever pet, home for you're looking for an animal and you find them, basically. Something very important around the things that you do every day, the people you do every day, the responsibilities you do every day. A really great way to use this energy is to adjust your routines consciously to support your energy and not just productivity. Leo speaks to your passion and what gets you really excited and enthusiastic, so you may have more enthusiasm and more excitement and a tweak in your routine that's very refreshing that will come from this full moon. This also may be something having to do with your health and vitality, so symptoms that you've been having. I don't think symptoms are ever good to be ignored because that's the language of your body. But if you have been ignoring some symptoms, they may get louder at this time and it may force you to look into them. And you can be proactive by getting tests and just sort of, dotting your I's and crossing your T's in your health department. This could just be physical burnout or emotional or mental overload. I don't say just to limit it, but just, this may be a truth that you're facing that you have to address these things. And something else that may need to be addressed is the letting in of chaos creeping into your daily schedule through avoidance and procrastination. So there may be sort of an inspiration to make changes in those arenas. If you are looking to get a new pet, this full moon is especially good for looking for a new pet. And we have until February 12th. That's completely free and clear from personal planet retrogrades that can sometimes interfere with the certainty of placement of an animal. So just be looking out if you're looking to do something new, either with your work or trying to launch a business project or doing something for your health. You'll have more clarity in the earlier part of the month. Then we've got this solar eclipse on February 17th at almost 29 degrees of Aquarius. This introduces a new eclipse cycle that will be present through 2028. However, it is going concurrently with the Virgo Pisces eclipse cycle that's still in process. So you all are still not off the hook yet. In January, I spoke about the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle coming back around, starting to get reared up and rowdy. January, February, March is when we officially have that Virgo eclipse that is the representative of that Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle that started in the end of 2024 and will go into 2027. So that is still in process. So what I'm going to talk about here with this eclipse doesn't take away from the fact that you still are going through years of major life-changing occurrences, and every 6 months you're sort of in the hot seat. But this is happening at the same time, and new themes are going to come up. The new themes that are going to come up that will be present for a couple of years are also going to be themes that are coming up in the short term for extra focus, because we've got transits of Estrella, Mars, Vesta, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury moving through Aquarius. And all of this is in your 12th house of Pisces. So Pisces rules the 12th house. And so it still is speaking your language in that way, of the way, this energy will manifest. But this theme of, it's very interesting because Pisces and Virgo rule the 6th and 12th houses. You've been in a Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. You're familiar with some of the energies that are going on there. Now the houses of Pisces and Virgo are going to be highlighted for the next couple of years. So, your formless versus form, and your practical versus spiritual, and your unseen versus tangible houses are really accentuated, and that path has been really coming up for you, finding balance there. And now you're going to be having the same story from the next eclipse cycle, as well as having the themes we talked about in the intro of the Aquarius, Leo types of things. Okay, so when you have all of this energy in the 12th house, and of course this is happening before your birthdays, it is common for the 12th house to be flooded with fast-moving planets before your birthday as they prepare to all start moving into Pisces soon as the month progresses. And as they do, that rebirth starts, that, regeneration, that quiet space moves into the active space. And so you've kind of got to battle your mind demons before you can get through to your new beginnings, basically. And that is the process of what's happening over these couple of months. Some things to expect from a Pisces eclipse is a deep internal reset. This is very internal, very personal, very private. Addictions, fears, mental chaos, all of that kind of thing. Patterns, emotional residue is dissolving. Ancestral karma, things you brought in through your genetics, through nature, through nurture, storylines that you have been a slave to may start to very, very quickly change. You can consciously use this energy for positive change, and some of the change may happen without you even doing anything. Eclipses tend to bring non-negotiable experiences. The eclipse is especially active the days around the 17th because that's when it happens, but these lineups are so powerful that 4 to 6 weeks before and after this time, we feel this energy. That's eclipse season. So life-changing information can be coming in January, February, March, even into April. Trajectory shifts, things you didn't think were going to happen for 5 or 10 or more years, all of a sudden happen. And things you've been working on forever that seems like they were never going to happen can suddenly occur. Time and space will feel and be different. This is a scientific truth, not just a metaphysical idea. Einstein proposed that time and space bend around objects of mass. This is their gravitational field. And this was proven later on. So we know that when there's an object of greater mass, time and space bends differently. And we know that this is true. That's why when you leave the Earth's atmosphere, time and space change. So when the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun line up, the gravitational energy is like they're uniting, and that increases how time and space bend in these fields. So that's why at eclipse time, things that seem like they were so far out or have been taking forever all of a sudden happen, because there's like portals into time loops or warps or something. So it's just look out for it. Synchronicities, little windows into the divine and into the lesser seen worlds can definitely reveal themselves. And this is a time of very deep internal reflection, but at the same time, it is a time when community, retreats, things where you combine with others who are like-minded and doing what you're doing, trying to heal what you're trying to heal, or trying to create what you're trying to create. Groups can have a lot of power now, but in the context of rest and regeneration, which is why something like a retreat could actually be really perfect. Okay, so you're going to have a heightened sensitivity and vivid interactivity. Dream time will be very fully activated. Intuitive dreams, healing dreams, asking your subconscious mind to reveal things to you can be used before you go to bed, when you wake up, throughout the day. This actually really works. The more you practice this, the more you will see. When your subconscious mind knows what you want it to do, then it will change its filter, which is your reticular activating system, which is the filter that basically lets information in or blocks it out. So when you let your subconscious mind know you're trying to do something, information that can meet that end can be filtered in instead of being filtered out. That's why when you go to buy a car, you all of a sudden realize that there are 10,000 car dealerships by you that you never noticed before. You say, are those new? Did those just get there? Well, no, you let your filter down to filter in those things, when before you didn't have a need for them. Your subconscious mind filtered them out. So this is again very real. It's a physiological function of our being. So you can use this to work with your subconscious mind. And this 12th house is all about the subconscious mind. So modalities like EMDR, NLP, both trauma clearing remedies or modalities, with licensed qualified people, because these are, this is pretty heavy duty inner world productive stuff. And you just want to make sure that you're in good hands. Some insurance companies may actually even cover EMDR, because there was a lot of work done with post-traumatic stress disorder in war veterans, showing that it can be very effective for anyone who's experienced trauma. But this could be a time where you're having a reset and healing that space, and it can open up a couple of years of focus in this area of your life, the way your internal world is helping to co-create your external experience. Okay, so the last time we had this cycle was 2017 to 2019. Prior to that, it was 2008 through the end of 2009. So you can think back to those times and see if any of the patterns of these types of things I've been talking about came up. Just because something difficult happened then doesn't mean that will repeat, because we do have different stars now than we did then. But, there are themes of the type I've been talking about that you may notice, came up very strongly in those times. Okay, so the next very important point, and this is really mega epic era, life-changing for humanity type of stuff, and I will do a separate video actually on all of these. There'll be a separate video for the full moon, a separate video for the solar eclipse, a separate video for this Neptune-Saturn conjunction regarding the global implications. But in this report, I want to focus on what Pisces can expect and where it will be for you. So as Saturn gets into Aries and joins Neptune, already gotten back there, this is going to be in your house of money. This is crazy. So let's go back to the dates. Neptune and Saturn get together every 35 to 36 years. That's a pretty big deal in its own. That's a long cycle, and that could have a lot of implications. The last time Saturn and Neptune got together in Aries was around 550 years ago. And the last time Saturn and Neptune got together at 0 degrees of Aries, the first degree of the whole zodiac wheel, the point of individuation from the Pisces cosmic soup, where we spring out of the whole into the individual, we don't even know when that happened before, because our reliable ephemeris only go back to 5,000 years. So we don't even know how long ago it was that Saturn and Neptune may have gotten together at 0 degrees of Aries. So this is a really, really big deal. So some things that you may expect here, specifically in the second house for Pisces of money, is a very serious, epic era change, redefinition of your self-worth, of your finances, of your material security, of your income, of your material possessions. You're learning to develop your income and material relationship while still putting one eye to spirit and beyond. So this is, Saturn is tangible. Neptune is intangible. Saturn is form. Neptune is formless. Saturn is material. Neptune is ethereal. So they're working in tandem to bring intuition to your financial sector, to bring manifestation in a material way to this sector, and to unite the two. So you can use this to rebuild or really build anew financial systems that are of a new epic proportion. This is a very, very, very big marker. This system that many people have of depleting ourselves and living on borrowed energy and just burning ourselves out is something that we have a chance to do anew. And that is something that's going to be coming up with this combination, where we can start to be driven by more of spiritual energy rather than just finite, non-renewable energy resources. And I'm hoping that sources like that can develop more for humanity during, this epic time. But for our own individual story, figuring out ways that you can replenish your energy where you're not going on empty all the time. Okay, so as of December 17th, we had all of the personal planets going direct with no shadow periods, and that open period in the stars, as I like to call it, goes until February 12th. So until February 12th, we are here on the shore. The tides are going out. Everything that we want to do for our long-term strategy, we can put on those tides and things can go far and wide. It's a time for actively working, pushing through obstacles, making things happen, looking into the future, strategizing, planning, and taking a very active role in our destiny. And then as of February 12th, when the tides start going in, things are different because that very active way of being starts to turn inward. And anytime we try to push something out, the tides are there to push it back. It's a time when anything that you put out on the waters of life will come directly back to you. And that can be perfect for certain things. Experiments, short-term things, low-stake things, trying things on, just playing a bit without having to worry too much. And also very, very specifically dealing with what's right in front of you. It's a very nice time to return to the here and now from all of our projecting forward and backwards in time, and just see what needs our attention in this moment through squeaky wheels. The squeaky wheels, whether it's the dishwasher or your car making noises or something, requires attention and resources. And from February 12th on for a while, certainly for the rest of February, with it officially going retrograde on the 25th, but we'll be going, well beyond with this energy, that just dealing with the things that come to you, to be responsive rather than being proactive in trying to make things happen. It's more of a time to deal with things and to deal with the pileup of things and to go back in the past, blast from the past, different ways of doing things, different ways of being. And since this is retrograde in your sign, you can expect this deep reflective identity review. How are you presenting yourself to the world? What is your appearance like? How do you want it to be? Is this in resonance with what you're trying to create? There could be mental fog. There could be confusion, but there could be heightened intuition. You may have a lot of misunderstandings that go on. The clarity will come later. Now is a time to kind of delve into the questions, not necessarily having the answers. It's a time to slow down. It's a time to reconnect with spirit, with the lesser seen forces, with quiet personal pursuits, and allow these identities that you've had in the past to sort of, in this reflective process, to see when everything starts moving forward, what you want to move forward. It's not a time to make huge decisions that are not reversible or that are too inflexible. Things that are flexible, low stakes, or shorter term are all very well indicated for the retrograde. So if you want to do something and you can get out of it, if it doesn't work out, that's acceptable to do. If you want to do something that is, flexible in the way of a time frame, like a go at your own pace, that is very acceptable to do. So, it's a very, very, very soft, emotionally connected, extra sensitive period of time. All right, I've given you a lot of dates. If you want my full list of sweet and salty dates through my sweet and salty report, you can grab that report at anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash, and I go over all my favorite dates of the month the worst dates of the month from the perspective of aspects and what you could do with them. If you want to see what's up in 2026 and beyond from the bigger picture, not the fast moving planets, but those slower moving outer planets, you can get my personalized video package for your chart at AnnieBClarity.com, Annie, the letter B, Clarity.com. And if you want to learn astrology, if that's part of your reflective process to learn for yourself or to eventually help other people and earn money even from doing astrology, you can go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, and see my astrology certification course. I am posting weekly at this time, doing all of these videos as one video instead of 12 different videos is opening up a little bit of time for me to do some extra reports. So you will see those posting around weekly during hotspot times. So you can keep an eye on my YouTube page or Spotify, or you can go to anniehelpsyou.com/astrology to keep an eye on that page. When you click on Unleash at anniehelpsyou.com, you also won't miss anything from me. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you in the next report. Bye.